Control-Alt-Redeem is for anyone called to ministry in the digital frontier, gamers, streamers, and everyday believers navigating life online. Each episode equips you to live on mission and the real stories of lives being changed. Reset your expectations, reframe your mission, and redeem the space you're already in. This is where digital ministry gets practical, creative, grounded, and hopeful. One episode at a time.
All right. Welcome in, everybody, to Control-Alt. You're thumbing all over the place, so we're good, right? We're good. Ah, okay. No, hey, I do the same thing, and in fact, I have you still muted on my side, so we both did it.
Perfect. There we go.
Both did it. There we go.
Oh, that's so funny. I was like, wait, what did I do wrong? Oh no, I didn't do it.
That's where when you are doing everything, you're the tech guy, you're the guest host,
yeah.
you're
the one-man crew.
you're just running all the different things, and that's how life is, right? That's how life is in the streaming realm.
Good to see you, buddy.
So it's all good there. So welcome in, everybody. This is the Control-Alt-Redeem podcast. We are looking to reset the culture and redeem the space. And so we're hanging out in digital spaces. We are on Twitch. I bring my friends on from Twitch, and we chat and talk about what's going on, what's happening in ministry, how did we get started, and what God has been up to in the space. So welcome in, Stratus Live. Welcome in.
Hello, everybody. Glad to be here.
Yeah, and we get not only you, but we get your avatar there as well.
You have to guess which one the real me is, though. That's the tough part.
Yeah, the tough part there, depending on if you spend a lot of time online or not, whether that would be the confusing thing. Because
this is a paid actor.
Yes,
it's pretending to be me.
It's a paid actor. There we go. We got several people coming in. Supersonic, did I not set the game to the podcast?
Oh, that's a good call.
Thank
you.
I
think I'm on just chatting as well.
Thank you for that. If I had it wrong, I did have it wrong. Wow, I missed that. Okay. Doesn't look like
Good
it
catch.
Worked. So I will change that. There we go. And reset that. So hopefully that helps. Yeah, it's one of those things where I've seen people do it both ways. Put podcast, and some do just chatting, and some of it depends on how much you engage the audience or not. If you put podcast, people kind of have a set idea, and it also helps people know that yes, we appreciate your chat and we want to address your chat, but there'll be more times that we'll ignore it, and we're not going to try to play catch up with chat. Versus if we're just chatting, then we don't want to miss anything. So a little bit of that going on. So
really important distinction.
Yeah. Well, it's at least how I see it. Maybe I'm wrong in making that assumption, but that's kind of how my brain processes the difference between the two. And it's also what I think I've seen as far as being in streams. I've been in streams where people put podcasts, they don't address chat at all. They're just recording. It's just them on screen, and I'm like, then why are you going live on Twitch if you're not going to address people? And it's fine if you say we're going to chat and then we'll have a conversation at the end with Q&A. That's still cool. But I've watched podcasts that were live and they never talk to chat, and I'm like, just go record it and give it to me. I could listen at double speed.
Right.
Then. Why am I here live if I don't get to engage you? But that's why I love Twitch. And I don't know about you if that's one of those things for you that's enjoyable about being on Twitch, is that live aspect of interaction. Do you enjoy that aspect of it?
I do. Yeah, I would say. A lot of it is the interacting, like, just being on the spot, whether it's, something unexpected happens in the game you're playing, or like, what the heck, like a huge raid just happened, like, there's a lot of different things that can just catch you on your toes.
Yeah.
In a good way, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for the follow there, Tropic Turtle. Appreciate that. Well, I like to start when we finally get done with the just little intro banter, whatever we're doing with. I like to ask everybody, when and how did they get introduced to Twitch? And then along that avenue, when did you decide to go streaming live? And those could be the same time. And then when you went to stream live, did you begin as a Christian streamer, or did that happen later? And so that's why I kind of like to lay the groundwork of the beginnings, because I think in some ways, other people that are contemplating getting started, that's a really helpful story to how did you process through it? How did you manage those things so that others who are thinking about it or feel like maybe they should get started, they kind of go, oh, I know how that is, or that's where I'm at, or even to go, wow, this isn't the right way to do it. Maybe try a different way.
All right, absolutely. A lot of really good questions. I think there's a good way to give the timeline there. So first hearing about Twitch, my brothers were both actually streamers. They were dabbling in esports and stuff like that. So they both were actually partner Twitch streamers back in their day. I'm not sure if one's trying to stream again or not, but they'd been on and off with esports basically. And so I knew of Twitch, I knew of it. And so I never really like hopped on it and didn't really check out channels. I was kind of just doing my own thing. I vicariously play with them every now and then in their group and stuff. So I'd get like a little bit of my feet wet, but I was like, I'm still doing school and focused on that. Kind of just let this be a little aside fun thing every now and then when it happens. By the time streaming came onto my radar as a thing of interest, it was very intentional, like, hey, gonna be ministry focused, kingdom minded with it. But kind of was just like, we'll see what happens when it happens, right? I had I had an ancient PC from like 2010 or something like that. It was like an office desktop or something, not even a gaming computer or anything like that. So it was like worse than an Xbox 360 at the time, pretty much. But like it was basically during the pandemic. I think 2021 was like I'd had things set up. I'd set up like Twitch Studio and whatnot and all that because that's what I started using because it seemed like, you know, newbie friendly. I'm not very tech savvy, I would say, but I just kept putting it off. I was like, I'll go live eventually. I'll eventually press that hit go live button.
Go live, yeah.
And it just keep putting it off. And then I remember specifically the moment we were playing Among Us with a group of actually friends I knew through Jate. It was some of Jate's IRL friends and stuff. We were playing Among Us, and one of them specifically like, well, you're going to go live eventually, right? I was like, yeah. He's like, why don't you just go live right now? I was like, that's a good point. So we went live with that Among Us stream. I'd been hanging out a little bit on Twitch. I'd been hanging out in the Valorant community, actually, because I was basically, after that Among Us stream, I was a Valorant streamer at first, just being kingdom-minded in that space, trying to get good at the game at the same time. But, yeah, I mean, from there, it kind of just, the journey kind of had itself go. Felt very specifically like, not to build my own community in that regards. Like everyone, like a streamer has their Discord server and stuff, and that stuff's great. I'm not bashing that at all. I think it's needed. I think it's essential to build and foster communities. But I felt God specifically put on my heart to be a bridge, be like a network, like a human network. My first name being Travis, Traveler, Traverse, Troll, like Toll Bridge and stuff like that. It kind of, you know, it seemed to make sense and be fitting to some point, to some degree, right? So yeah, I was just trying to like, you know, be involved with other people's communities, whether they're faith-based or not. If they weren't faith-based, you know, just try to be a light and just love on those people. If they were in the faith, then hey, you can kind of help like be a little more intentional about like drawing the roadmap for them. Which then led to the VTuBing thing eventually. I remember seeing a few Christian VTubers, which was an interesting thing. And I was like, what would this look like? Something I'm not an artist by any means. Like even a lot of like fine arts and stuff came to me very late. But I found some like free to use stuff, made a model from scratch. I remember hanging out in Aki and Fam's Discord server while working on making the model. And I was like, whoa, I guess it's done. I thought I was going to spend like another month and a half working on it, but let's just see it. And so went live, launched the first model, went for it. And then that opened a lot of other doors, specifically like for like, you know, Christian VTubing community and being a human network there as well. And then partnering with some ministries in there. So, yeah, honestly, it was just like you're playing games anyway. Why not just go live doing it and, you know, see what God does? And it's been amazing over the years what he's done with it.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of things that I I want to stop and ask more questions. So let's go. Let's just back way up because
I was like, let's give the long timeline,
know,
and then we can whatever you want to pick apart. Let's go
I know.
for it.
It's like I like that, but it's like then my brain's going, wait. So your brothers were esports. Were they doing this just on their own independently? Were they doing this in connection with any school or organized esports? What was it that they were doing specifically?
That is such a good question, because it was kind of before collegiate esports or scholastic esports really took off. This was Dota 2 days when it first started.
Oh, wow,
you know, like
yeah.
which Dota 2 is still like I mean, it's still like one of the largest esports prize pools, but like this was me in high school, them just finishing, like, well, the oldest one, he's a bit older, but the middle one, he's like basically within 2 years of me. So he was just finishing high school, and he just went for it. He was just playing. They did like a semi-pro Dota team together.
Okay.
And then the middle one specifically, he jumped around from other games. It was when Overwatch first came out, he was part of a team with Overwatch. I got to dabble a little bit in some of the scrims there so I got to vicariously enjoy the scene without the like putting in the work, right?
Yeah. Well, I was just asking because I was like, the timing of when you were saying that, I'm like, that really sounds like before collegiate esports got started.
Yes.
And so I just
this
wondered,
was like 2016-ish, 2017-ish when they were starting, I feel like. So
yeah, I was just curious if there was, they were in some of those really early ones or they were just doing it on their own. That sounds really cool. But I could see where you've got older brothers who are doing something, and having had kids of my own, I watch the different ways that they react of, I'm going to outdo you, so I'm going to go do this, or that's your thing, and I'm not going to get compared to you, so I'm not going to go anywhere near that. Which way would you say that you lean towards?
I mean, I made the joke. I was always a sweaty, salty gamer. Like, I mean, we'd always be very competitive. But for me, like, it just felt like school was like getting my bachelor's, getting my master's, and that kind of stuff just took the priority.
Yeah.
If I wasn't gonna do my master's, like, I thought about dabbling in like Smash Bros and stuff like that. But yeah, it was just like, hey, that's cool. I hope it works out for them. It's great that they're doing that, but that's definitely not my path. And then, especially with the content and stuff, it was more of God, like, hey, let's move your heart from winning the game and moving your heart to being there for people, kind of thing, which is still, I'm not fully there yet. I'm not saying it's done.
Yeah. Oh,
it's definitely a long process.
Yeah, we're
an everlasting process.
Exactly. It's an ongoing thing that we're all working and endeavoring towards. And you had said that, Jate Live, and he's known pretty far among the Twitch community, especially the Christians. Pretty much all probably know him. If you're not, you're probably living under a rock somewhere, and you're not really out there and running into people, because like it seems like everyone in every community knows of Jate if they don't know him directly. So was Jate one of the first ones that influenced you? Did you see other Christians in the space and decide that was the direction you wanted to go, or did God lay that on your heart initially before running into Christians in the space?
God definitely laid it on my heart before getting in the space. It was just like, hey, they're doing it to compete. They're doing it for professional. Like, they wanted to be their job. I have my job at the university and stuff. What would it look like to just be kingdom-minded in that space? And Jay was definitely one of the first I connected with back when it was Game Church. I had stumbled upon that group, and it was the first like city play was their like game night I went to. So that's where I met Jay and like some of the other people. And then that was also their last city play before Game Church split up into the different groups that it had split into. So I kind of just rode the boat with Love Clan. I was around when Jay was working on it day one. I'm not saying like I built Love Clan, because I didn't. I was along for the ride pretty much. But yeah, seen it grow from day one, where it was its Discord server. And then once it just became this thriving community in that space, then Jay was like, all right, let's do streaming now. And then he went on Mixer and all that. But we know how that journey goes.
Yeah. But I just love those facets of thinking about it, because it seems like there's different waves of people that God calls into the space. And even if they don't know each other initially, they have a similar calling, a similar desire, and they step in about the same time. And then there seems like, so that's like the early, like Jade is one of those early pioneers out there. Susie Live is one of those early pioneers out
Absolutely.
there. There's several early ones out there. And then there's a wave that came just before the pandemic and then just after the pandemic. Like there's that, and they're a little bit different in those two groups that are there, that are in the space. But it seems like God was preparing some foundational things happening before there started being more and more people. And I think as I see Christians getting into the space, we recognize other people in the space, and we're like, that just multiplies into more people feeling like I could do this. I didn't know it was a possibility. I felt God calling me to it, but didn't know I could. And so now it's like, oh yeah, I can step in and do that.
Absolutely, yeah. And you even see like it's almost like the gens, like the generations of each like group that comes in. Yeah, it's really interesting because you know, we're all minded, like same mission, same minded, but like just the routes or like, you know, just what's going on at the time, like you know, like Kiori, Lupine, like Kaito and like them and stuff, like when the VTuber boom was hitting, like they were there, and so they got to see like, you know, that front lines of like being missional in that space. And then like you said, like this boom now we see with like whatever new trends are going, like when TikTok started blowing up, TikTok live, and seeing like who was like, you know, being missional in that space. Like it just yeah, you know, God will have a time and season for each person. And then, you know, just as Paul had their Barnabas, like maybe you're not direct partners in your mission, but he'll bring other people along to help you. So you like just that assurance, like, hey, I'm with you, but like also there's people with you too. So you don't have to like feel alone in it, kind of thing.
Yeah, and yeah, if you follow that model of Paul, every city he goes to, there seems to be a person or two that he resonates with. Some travel on the journey with him, and some stay in the city where he went to. And then so I think that's in some ways is the people that migrate together along the way, kind of like you and I are both together in the Reach community, but we're not, we don't overlap in our streaming community. From when I go live, I'm on in 8 o'clock in the morning, my time zone. So that's 5 o'clock in the morning, your time zone. You're not up watching me, and
I am in bed.
And your community is not up watching me. And then, you know, we're on now at 10 o'clock at night. I'm usually in bed at 10 o'clock at night. It's only 7 for you, but you know, it's one of those things where time zones sometimes limit where we're actually live together, but we're active in the Discords together. We're active in some middle of the day, you know, calls and things like that. So it's just fascinating to me how those things overlap, and we can be on parallel paths, and God could be leading us the same way, and we occasionally get to interact with each other in a deeper level while we're paralleled to what God is leading us towards.
I love that you mentioned that, because especially a lot of people I do like online with I end up being like CST, EST people. So during the semesters when I work on school schedule, like, I mean, I go in, basically teach from 9 to 7 on most days when I'm on. So I get home, they're going to bed. I'm like, hey guys, I'll send them the message. They'll see it tomorrow, kind of thing. But like, because I mean, sure, maybe not the live space is that connection, but still stuff like Discord, stuff like platforms that, you know, you can just get to it on our wavelength of where we're on time, so we can still be in lockstep with each other, even if it's not that like asynchronous being in the same space at the same time. But hey, over holidays we can make it work, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I did want to. You had mentioned the migration over to doing the VTuber. What was the pull there and the desire for that? And I love that you brought both yourself and your VTube self. I've not had that on my stream before. I think that's super cool to have you both side by side. So thank you for doing that. But I'm just curious, like, what was it that was about that you're like, I want to join in that realm? Because I don't know that everybody watching this or listening to this is going to know or understand VTubing. Yeah. If they're listening to the podcast, they may not. So kind of walk through, what was that pull, desire to move in that direction?
Right, absolutely. So at first I had stumbled upon some like bigger streamers and stuff that I would watch. One in particular, he had a VTuber model made of him. It was a box, and the box would pog whenever he talks. So I was like, I just thought it was the funniest thing. Like I knew a little bit of YouTube. Like I'd watched like Code Miko before and stuff like that, where she like does the full tech, like you see like the immersive, like you get the whole behind the scenes experience of making it and stuff. I was like, that stuff's cool. That stuff also looks really intimidating. Like I said, I'm not an artist. But then I stumbled upon like, I was watching an Aki stream and he had rated Carrie Lupine. So I saw, oh, you know, hey, she's doing it and, you know, she's Christian and she's entertaining and like streaming. And then like, oh, I stumbled upon some other Christian VTubers.
Okay.
And so, you know, whether it, like the stream is their mission or not, they're still kingdom minded in their presence and in their space. It doesn't mean every stream's a Bible study. But I was like, huh, let's dabble in that. Let's see what it looks like.
Okay.
And yeah.
Yeah. So some
kind
of
of
it
just
was
developed from there.
Yeah, some of it was exposure and building relationships that that moved in that direction. That's cool. As you've been streaming in the space and moving in, what have been some difficulties you've had to overcome, some obstacles that have got in your way? They could be things that happened with stream, and they could be things that happened in your personal life or outside of stream that you ran into that just made streaming difficult, or things you've had to overcome in order to be a Twitch streamer bringing the gospel to people?
Really good question. Tech will always be one. I make the comment, you know, I live in a space that is for IRL, real life job, all that stuff. It's a miracle. I mean, living in LA area, it is absurd trying to like survive on your own out here, but I have some partial support and stuff like that. So it's great for that, and that's the big picture priority, but tech stuff is very limited here. Not the best internet. It's always not the best quality, but you know, like that stuff that if it truly gets in the way of the mission, there's always something you can do about it. But for the most part, I've kind of just putting that stuff on the back burner because I do feel a calling from God to eventually leave California. And then I'd be able to like further expand upon that stuff, like maybe update the model, do like VR streams, like full body VR stuff is some things I've been passionate about, and seeing where that goes. But so at the same time, like a lot of the waiting on the Lord has been coming up this past couple of years. I'm in that patience arc, I make the joke. And so some of that stuff's like, yeah, just wait on it, do what you can now. You know, you don't need to have a $3,000 model to do VTubing. Well, like you can use a PNG tuber and, you know, just, you know, have fun, make content, you know. So doing what I can in this space now, but also like kind of tempering myself in the way of like, how do I say it? Like maybe like put the perfectionist in me to the side and be like, hey, you know, do the best you can with what you have right now, but don't be like, be content with where you are right now as well, I guess is a better way of saying it. So yeah, that's definitely been part of the journey. Consistency, school schedule makes streaming tougher sometimes, work schedule. I had been 2023, I think was probably my best year of consistency with that. But then 2024, I just had to piece out from most of the online space, mental health stuff, me filling in the blanks of where God was speaking and God was moving, and then things not happening the way I thought they should happen. I'm like, uh-oh, I'm not in a healthy place theologically right now. Like I need to take a step back and recheck some things. So yeah, it was actually ReachCon where I felt God give the green light to be streaming again and stuff. So we've been kind of diving in, trying to be consistent with that again as of recent.
Is that something that you have encountered before being a streamer, of that impatience kind of moving and then God showing up in different ways, or is that new? Like maybe you weren't fully actively pursuing God to run into that before. What has that experience been for you?
I think the biggest, like not biggest, like strongest, most potent encounter of that I've experienced has definitely just been like these past couple of years, because I feel like it's been intertwined both in stream and real life, because I love my job, it's great, but when you work in a school system, like things have, there's very fickle variables of like getting enough classes and stuff like that. Going somewhere else isn't magically going to fix that, right? But you know, just trusting God in that right now, but also trusting God that like, am I taking the appropriate proactive steps that I should be, because I'm not just going to sit there and God's going to make it magically fall in my lap either, kind of thing, right? So yeah, I'd say they both hit like at the same time, which made it a lot stronger, made it a lot more patience growing arc moments.
Yeah,
I think that, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I've probably shared this in you know, the stream here numerous times. But one of the things that I remember so fondly from it's the first week of chapel every semester as I was in seminary, and that was, you just came in, you just decided that you committed to following God. You know what you've just done? You've put a target on your back, and there are attacks that are going to be coming your way. And I don't know that everybody who's just suddenly feeling a call from God and says, well, I'm going to go live, has any of those kinds of thoughts in their mind that I've just raised my hand and put a target on my back. And so it's so true, though, that those things are going to come. And I think also it's not just then. Every time you commit to a new level of something in your faith, or you commit to, I'm going to go and try something new for the Lord, there is that potential again that, oh, now I or those around me might be a target for the enemy to come against us.
Absolutely. Yeah, whenever you're saying yes to God, so there will be forces that will not be pleased with that. And I'm just like, my brain's just going down memory lane a little bit. There was few encounters. When starting out streaming, there were people like, you know, not like a full on hate raid, but people who just come in and be antagonistic and stuff. And, you know, you could put them in their place. You could tell them, like, dunk on them, prove them wrong. But what does that really accomplish at the end of the day? So, you know, it was the challenge that I felt God was leading me towards, is how to show love and how to meet them where they're at in those moments. You know, someone could be, you know, wanting to just make a mockery of your faith, and then all of a sudden they've never been met with love in response instead. And then that kind of gives them a 404 error in themselves. Like, wait, what do I do here? Like, huh? Like, what? Like, they're not offended. They're not fighting back. Like, and then maybe that breaks down a wall in their hardened heart, you know? And I know stories of people that, like, I've seen in other communities that have had those moments. Whether like I get to firsthand experience that or not, I mean, that's not for me to say, that's for God to say. But, you know, maybe some of those encounters have been part of the seed planting process itself.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just chuckling really hard. You're giving them a 404 error. Like, yeah, that's like, oh yeah, I know that one. That one comes up quite often. You know, you go try to like, I know where I'm supposed to be going, and I know this is valid, and no, it's not. There's a 404 error in the way. And I love that that thought there. So you know of those, you've witnessed them, but you maybe not per se actually in your own stream, other than maybe you're planting some of those seeds. But I think that you know, Jesus talks about the analogy of some plant the seed, some water it, others harvest it, and then telling the disciples where they were at was harvesting where others had planted and watered.
Right.
And so we never know which part of that we are going to be contributing. And even in some of those, like, I feel really fortunate. I've had two really unusual cases this year where I've had individuals. One was a Muslim who was in my channel for about a month, and that was it. And then they disappeared. And they came back months later and said, hey, I just want to let you know I'm getting baptized on Sunday. Like, what's happened in the meantime? Like, all I did was either till the ground or plant something, and then others were involved that caused them to go and get involved with some Christians they knew in person and go to a church that they could go attend. And there was a whole bunch of life transformation. I don't know which part I was, you know, tilling the ground or planting the seed or just watering it, but I got to be a small part of that. And then another person just popped in like last month and said a similar thing about, hey, I'm getting baptized on Sunday. I just wanted to let you know. And then we had, I don't know if you got to be at it. There were a couple of people that were getting baptized at Reach Conference, and you know, some of the pools at the Airbnb
Oh, yeah.
had baptisms happening.
So good.
So
it was so good. Yes.
Hey, Samarella, welcome in. So good to see you, friend. I hope you're doing well. And if I don't see you before then, those who are listening later, this is getting recorded before Christmas. So Merry Christmas to everyone who is here, whether you're Christian or not. It's still a time to celebrate for most people with family and friends. So,
Merry Christmas indeed.
yes. Yes. Which is, ultimately part of the reason that I'm here is if we're not celebrating Christmas and Christ hasn't come, then why am I going into Twitch space?
What's the purpose?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thinking about that, why don't we just shift and thinking about reach for a minute, because I think that's a good tangent to go on to. We're talking about impact in people's life. We mentioned it a couple of times. You and I had a strange occurrence to be able to spend time together. But I want to start with, I've got my trophy back here from.
Ooh, yes.
It's going to be painted for either a affiliate anniversary or stream anniversary. I'm going to paint it on cam, but I'm saving it, so it'll be a down the road thing. But we, I think, first got introduced to each other because Reach Conference was doing a 90-day Helldivers challenge, and I don't know how you got signed up in it to begin with, but then all of a sudden it was, hey, can you help lead this thing that's ongoing, because the initial person that was going to do it, I believe, got sick and had to step aside, and so
their life just turned upside down. You name it, it happened.
Upside down. Yeah. And a bunch of us were committed to doing it. Now, I'll have to air my grievances here because Festivus is also just around the corner. And I had signed up to do it at 10 a.m. and then it got switched, or maybe it was the other way around. I don't remember. Anyway, the time got switched on me. I wanted to sign up for the other time. Suddenly, everybody was in one group, and I wasn't happy. And I'm like, but I'm committed, so I'm going to show up. I have a hard time when I commit to something of not actually following through and doing that. So how did you get started in that?
Yeah, so what I teach in university is fitness. I got my master's in kinesiology, so specifically adapted fitness for exercise with people with chronic disability. So when all of a sudden HP stat thing was happening, Romans originally reached out. She's like, "Oh, dude, like, you're a gamer and fitness and stuff. Let me connect you with this guy, the guy who was originally going to lead it." So we had a little bit of back and forth, but it mostly ended up just being like, "Hey, I'm down to like partake in the group. If I'm needed as help at all, I'm more than happy to help out." So then once that stuff happened, Jeesh was originally like, "Hey," Jerome was like, "Jeesh, you stream, you lift, you want to do it?" He's like, "Okay." And so I was like, kind of just, just being there as a support, as an assist as needed. I think there's a really awesome opportunity God was using for Jeesh, and, letting him step into that leadership. And so I kind of just felt like I was kind of the dude behind the curtain, where there was the occasional actually guy to make sure people were safe with technique, or eventually leading some groups and stuff. And so HP stats has been great.
I did appreciate your explanation. I am one that needs the explanation as to why it happens. And some of this comes from coaching. So coaching wrestling, I needed to know the leverage points and why things work, because I needed to think of how to prevent it from happening. So I love the both and of the thinking through all the kinesiology aspects of things to know if I'm doing this way, this is the outcome I should expect. If I do it a different way, it's a different outcome. My mind is going to how to prevent things often, because I don't want people doing those things to me. And then the frustration when you can't prevent someone from doing it. But I think that's also good. And I think this more my age, I am more prone to injury now than I ever have been. I don't want injury more than ever. I mean, when I was younger, I didn't care. I'm injured, so what? I'll get over it. I'll heal fast. I don't heal fast anymore.
I have the weekend to heal up. I'll keep playing on it. If I can walk, I'm okay.
Exactly.
That was me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like if you don't play with a broken arm, I mean, what are you, a wuss, Like, I remember the first time I heard about turf toe and the laughter that ran through my friends. Oh, my goodness, you stubbed your toe and you can't play. And, making fun of wide receivers because they're the only ones that would, not play with a stubbed toe. So, So, did you enjoy the time of leading that and helping us to be able to accomplish that 90 days?
No, absolutely. It was great. If it was selfish, me would have liked it a little bit later, but that's okay. It was quite early for me, but it made sense because sometimes I could literally help out with the workout, then immediately book it to work for my first class. So it actually worked out incredibly well there in the grand scheme of things. It was a blessing. It was great. It's definitely something I'm passionate about. Gaming, fitness, ministry, like those are kind of like the triangle for me in that regards of amongst some other passions I'm still working on, like music and stuff, but that takes a little more time, right? But yeah, it's been great. Actually looking at what we did with the HP stat is we made some specific groups, kind of like made a little team network now. So we have our different stuff. Mine's booting up after the holidays. I'm giving it that breather, but what I felt God was like, hey, just do Friday mornings dibs. Don't know what it's going to look like, but we'll see. And kind of just taking that variety exposure of like, hey, you can try different styles. See maybe, hey, you've never worked out this way before. Hey, you don't need equipment to actually get these results you want. And maybe you hate that trend and you never want to do it again. Or maybe you love that trend and it ends up being something that sticks with it for you. Because at the end of the day, the best workout's going to be the one you stick with. It doesn't matter how mathematically perfect or incorrect it is, kind of thing, as long as it's healthy, leading you closer to your goals, and you can stick with it.
Yeah, and I really like the aspect because there is a whole level of which, as a content creator, as a streamer, I can sit in front of the computer all day long. As a pastor, I sat at a desk in front of a computer most of the day long. It is really easy to neglect my physical health because I sit in front of a computer screen all the time. So I love the fact that we were talking about that in Reach Conference as one of the things that we wanted to level up was our health. And I've seen several people in the community that did the 90-day Helldivers that are now full on engaged in making sure they're caring for and taking care of their physical health and doing different activities and doing those kinds of things.
Yeah, amazing to see. Even just occasionally glancing in the HP stat and just seeing the consistency came from it and people like, owning it, like, hey, like this is part of my life now. This is something I want to do. It wasn't just the 90 days and I'm done, peace out kind of thing. So yeah, no, absolutely. I completely resonate with that.
Yeah. I think there's going to be more people that can do that, but it's one of those aspects, like I was saying, that like it's easy to neglect. It's easy to forget about. It's easy to put aside. And not just for that. I mean, like almost, I would say a whole bunch of our societies is doing that. You go to work, whatever it is, you're not really mobile active. We drive in vehicles, whether it's your own or public transportation, to get back and forth to work. We're not walking, 10,000, 20,000 steps a day like our ancestors did. We're, a few people are out there doing the 10,000, but, you would be doing a whole lot more of that if you were walking to get your water at the river, if you're going out to hunt and get your food, if you're going out to the field to get crops. We do so little as a natural part of life in the way that we have inherited the world that we live in.
Absolutely. I'd go as far as at work, I call it physical activity epidemic, because we're seeing a lot of health issues, Medicare costs, all of that, medical costs. But here we are, inconvenienced that we have to walk further in the parking lot when we park to go to the gym, taking those extra steps. Yeah, we got some work to do for sure. So it was really great to see in Reach, follow up with that and actually being part of that change. So it was very encouraging.
Yeah, the parking closer always cracks me up, of the people that are trying to get that perfect spot up front, so they have very little distance to walk to get there. And good grief, I parked on campus when I commuted to college in the middle of a cornfield, and I would have to walk a half mile to get to class. So it's just like, you found any spot, you got lucky, and then you just picked it and you sat there and you never moved your car the whole day because you weren't gonna. There was no chance of getting closer.
That's what's gone as soon as you back out of it.
Yeah, like there's sharks circling the whole parking lot. So, my ideal parking spot is I pull through so I don't have to back up. I don't care if I'm a half
Mhm.
mile away. I don't have
I
to,
love that.
I don't have to back up. I get to pull through. That's what I'm looking for. So I will give up a half mile of parking to pull out forward instead of backing in or backing out. But, you know, I guess I pay for it, or I get the blessing of walking all those extra steps to get inside.
Yeah, I people always, oh, I don't think of it like it's a little weird quirk, I guess. Like I always park weirdly far. Like instead of using campus parking and stuff, like I park like I know this one spot on the street side in front of this one house. It's my vicarious fake house because hopefully I'm not inconveniencing them by always parking in front of their house and then get a nice little like 10-15 minute walk in real quick.
Well, I always also too, I do like to park with the intent of getting out of the parking lot faster than everyone else. So
Exactly.
when I was in high school, I didn't park in the parking lot. I parked on the road that was parked next to the campus, and I parked the closest spot to the stop sign so nobody could park in front of me, so I could always get in my car and drive to the stop sign and be away from school while everyone is fighting the parking lot to get out of the parking lot. I'm already at the road, and I'm already down the road, but I just had to walk 3 times as far as they did to get in their car. They just had somebody sitting in front of them that doesn't know where the gas pedal is.
And the payoff's worth it. There you go.
Who knew where this conversation was gonna go? Weird question here, but I'm gonna go there because maybe you know. I know there are a few people that do streams on Twitch that are workout streams, and I don't know that I've ever seen any that's well attended. But I'm just wondering, is there anybody doing VTuber workout streams that you know of?
Not really. There's one VTuber I know of. He's very fitness minded and stuff, but a workout stream itself is really tough to manage because like you're not running the class, like you're just working out. People are allowed to like join in if they want, but you know it's not, you're not paying for a workout. Liability, like there's all those like fine tape, right? If you really wanted to do something like that. VR, I feel like you could potentially maneuver it, but especially like during some of the first gen full immersive VR stuff, like it was still a little limited. So I think we still have a little bit more to go before it's really there. Like mocap suit integration is kind of what's going on now, which could get us, we're pretty close to there, I would say. I would give it like 1 or 2 more gens before we could really see that avenue kind of maybe be paved where like, hey guys, I'm just going to show you my workout. You know, if you have questions about it, here's what I recommend, kind of thing. You can do it on your own time. And you can consult outside if you have those qualifications and credentials, like, hey, like reach out, we can do a consultation. I have my certification, but on the stream itself, it just gets really blurred to try and like do that as the stream. Someone like, I always loved watching Susie's streams, Pastor Susie, when he did his workouts, because he'd just talk about what he's doing and why he's doing it. And would do the science. He'd look up the science. He'd do the research behind it. And it's like, oh, here's why I'm doing this. And I was like, I agree. I have the degree and like I went to school for it, and you're doing right research. You're not going on random Joe on YouTube who's like, I'm jack shredded and this is what I did. It's gonna work for everyone else when it actually doesn't work, kind of thing, right?
Yeah. Well, I think that's true with anything, and I think even more and more today than ever, you don't know what the source is that somebody's quoting, and I have found myself numerous times, you know, even studying the Bible, and someone will say, where's the source on that? And I will go, oh, I don't know. I've heard this from multiple pastors throughout the years. I don't know where the source is. And I started to become more and more aware of that idea of where is the source to be able to point to the criteria for it. As I become more and more aware of that, I realize there have been things that, hey, I wasn't necessarily fully sourced well on some of the things that I had learned, and I needed to unlearn those or do more exploration to find out when those started and how they came about, and go, well, maybe that's not the best thing. And, you know, we have that with diet and exercise at times too, that will tell us this is the thing now, and then later science says, no, that's not quite true. There are different things about it that, well, we learned something different about it.
I get to have way too much fun with those things. I'll just tease one right now. So the side plank, for example, the side plank exercise. It's a variation of the plank, but your sideline, whether you're on your hand or forearm, So Dr. Stu McGill was the one who like constructed the exercise, and the illustrator in the textbook messed it up and had the feet stacked on top of each other. But what that does is that puts extra strain on your spine. So you're just trashing yourself while trying to get a good quality workout. So if you actually separate the legs, one in front of the other, they're staggered, then you're doing a side plank correctly, kind of thing. So
Okay.
I love those little things. People like, we've just grown accustomed to like, oh yeah, sit-ups are king, like, and we'll just do sit-ups for everything. It's like, actually, there's better exercises you could do for that, right? And so that always gets me like I nerd out about stuff like that all the time.
That's cool. Yeah, I can say I nerd out when we start talking Bible stuff. So that's my area of nerd out is get in the Greek and Hebrew, and somebody found something
Yes.
or the meaning of this word behind that, and so go down a rabbit trail on all that kind of stuff. I love to find that niche where people just like, I'm so excited to talk about it. Can I tell you about this? So I knew we were going to talk about working out for a little bit there. So glad we could do that. I wish I liked working out more. I don't. I have been on lots of sports teams. I will work out for a team. I will work out for a team to excel. I will work out to, do my part for the team. But if it's just myself, it is really hard at times to go and do things. And I'm self-motivated, so when I'm not motivated, it's really hard to decide I'm going to do it. But if I've already decided I'm doing it, you're not going to stop me from doing it. So it kind of goes both ways.
I call myself the dog with a tennis ball in that regards. Like if there's any objective game, sport, something, like I'll run 3 miles and not even know it. You put me on a track to just run laps, I'm 2 laps in, I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Like,
yeah, that's one of those things where I figure you went around the track once, you completed it. Why would you keep going? That was the whole goal. Like if the track needed to be bigger, they would have made it bigger. 1 lap is enough. And then I end up coaching cross country, which was like, okay, yeah, I'm the expert you want to listen to. But
you're 12 laps around the track, and then you run your 16 laps around the track.
Well, it became really fun. And it was like this ongoing joke for me that the kids would like want to know what the plan for the day was. And all my answer ever was, we're going to run. And then what are we going to do? We're going to run some more. Like, that's the plan. Like, okay, what are we doing first? Well, you got a mile warm up. So go run your warm up and stretch and then be ready to run after that. And it was just like this ongoing joke that they would just kind of, what are we doing today, coach? What do we do? It's like, we're going to run. And so I wanted to, we never ended up doing it, get a shirt that just said cross country workout, run, rest, repeat. Because that's really all you need to do. We did do other stuff, but it was just the fun aspect of, I don't know how to tell you what my plan is going to be because I don't have a name for the stuff we're going to do. Like we're going to run hills or we're going to go do this. I had games I came up with for running around town and doing other things so that it wasn't boring, and we did other stuff. So I don't know if you've ever done a game called Bigger or Better. You ever heard of this game?
Don't think I have.
Okay. So I get an item that I give every single one of the kids. So I just give them an item. Oh, this is just sitting here right next to me as a 20-sided die. They go and knock on the door of someone's house, and they say, I need something bigger or better than this.
That's great.
So this book over here is bigger, but I don't know if it's better, but I can trade you because it's bigger. And so they would just run all over town, trading things up. We got like bicycles by the end of the day. I'd give them like a paper clip or a pen, and they would come home with a bicycle, got a computer that actually ended up being the computer that I started using for recording everything because I didn't have anything for the team.
So great.
So I ended up with a computer for the team, ended up with an amplifier. Like I'd let the kids keep stuff, but someone's like, they didn't want it. Like, hey, you want it, coach? So yeah, I had a bicycle that came one time. Somebody had a wheelbarrow that they got, a TV. I mean, just like stuff that people didn't want sitting around, and like, you can have it. And they would just trade up. And sometimes people would say, yeah, I don't want your garbage that you're trying to trade me. Just take this other thing. And so they'd come in with a whole handful of stuff. And that's a fun way to get a workout. Running around carrying stuff would also make it more difficult because you couldn't carry everything and run. And there was always, I did this with all of our things. If you don't get back on time, you don't win. Like in order to win, there is a hard stop that you have to be in the building in my presence to be able to, whatever the things were that we would do. We also do a canned food drive, run around town and collect food for the food pantry. So
get a workout and amass a fortune.
yes, a workout and amass a small streamer fortune, not a fortune, a small streamer fortune.
That's real here, guys.
Maybe I should implement that around here. Just I need something better than this old chip that it's got to be all tech stuff. Upgrade my tech. Bigger or
way
better.
to touch the AI sales of RAM. I need a better RAM stick. Here you go.
RAM stick. Can you get me a better RAM stick? There we go. Oh, well, we're talking about some of the obstacles that have come in the way of streaming and then life. Has there been some blessings you've experienced as being a streamer, or ones you've witnessed for somebody in your streaming community?
Streaming, I mean, yeah, it was always an unexpected blessing. Like I thought I was just gonna kind of be here in this space. Like, I mean, generosity of people is astounding. Whatever I made, I try to make sure at least like 90% of it was going back into the stream as much as I could, kind of thing. But even then, it was like I barely streamed 1 month, and it was like my most profitable month. I'm like, huh? Like, isn't this supposed to go the other way around? Like, how does this work? But I mean, and not even just like money. Like, I remember specifically one time, I think it was in a spring. I think it was spring like 23 or something like that. Like, life was being a bit tough. I'm pretty sure it was a family loss at the time and stuff like that. And I was just doing a just chatting stream. And I remember Assassinator Steph raided. And not only did she raid, but then she just went like full auto like blessing in the chat. And I'm just like, I just like lost it right there. I was just like what the heck? Like, how does this like, man? And like going like being in the opportunity in my position, like I've seen a lot of prayer move, like God move in ways. There was something, a specific test of faith, I guess you could say, like comfort zone pushing. God had told me to put a word of encouragement redeem on my stream, that for an easy 7 points, I would pray, kind of like seeking like a prophetic prayer just of encouragement on the spot, just whatever God's saying, listening prayer, let God speak. Worst case scenario, it's me, kooky imagination, whatever, life goes on, you're out down 7 channel points. Best case scenario, God is reading your mail, like telling you something, meeting you right then and there. And the moments that have come from that have been absurd. One in particular I remember. Oh, sorry, go on.
Oh, I was going to say, could you tell us 2 or 3 of those?
Yeah, so one in particular, I remember a friend of mine, she had like done the redeem, and I was like, I don't know why, I just can't get this like image of a strawberry out of my head. And I was like, I don't even know what it means, because I'm not supposed to interpret it anyway. I don't want to know what it means. It's usually easier that way compared to if I think I know what it means, and it's like, uh-oh, I'm going too much of me talking rather than letting God talk if it's really him in that moment, right? Then like that was a Tuesday. That Thursday, she like tells me like she got a DM from her friend. She's like, "You're like a strawberry. You're sweet." Blah blah blah. Like just like this like just full like encouragement thing that was just completely resonating with what was said like beforehand. And like that's the cool thing about God in these moments. Like it's not fortune telling. I'm like, "Ooh, you're gonna win the lottery." It's like no, like God will either be reinforcing something He's already telling in you or reminding you of something you've forgotten. And so that's why it's like a word of encouragement in that regard. Like it might be something completely abstract to me. I even made this example at Reach where I was like, listening prayer. I'm praying, and then all of a sudden Daffy Duck stuck in my head, and like, oh, cool. And the guy's like, it's funny you mentioned Daffy Duck because my really close relative and I like his favorite cartoon was Daffy Duck. He had this really good Daffy Duck voice. But then yeah, he was the one who read me the Bible. I first got to see it, and it's just this really intimate moment for him suddenly. While it's like nothing for me, which is perfectly fine because it's about them in that moment. It's about God meeting them where they're at. So I love that stuff. I love the Holy Spirit moving in that way. But yeah, it's been just, going out in faith. Like a lot of things, God's like, go out in faith. I'm like, this is going to be awkward, but I feel like God's saying it. And then, of course, the way he just ends up honoring that obedience that he's calling you to, just the most amazing things happen.
Yeah, that's super cool. I would definitely say, and odd thing, I have prayer on my channel at 7 points as well. So that's kind of a weird thing. Like, why 7? I mean, I have a reason for 7, but why do you have 7?
So the prayer request itself was 1 point, just for
okay.
like easy mode.
Okay.
But then the word of encouragement was 7, just
Okay.
for like, the significance of the number 7. It was like, hey, the word of encouragement prayer is specifically a prayer of like, I don't want to say putting it to the test, because that's not at all the right terminology, but like expecting an immediacy in this moment with this prayer request. Like, I asked God for something like a normal prayer of petition. He's going to move on his timing. But I'm asking God, like, hey, can you speak in this person's life right now? Whether it's a word, an image, anything. Just let it be of you. Just please not be of me. Yep. And I'm going to wait there until it happens. And if it's an awkward silence, it's an awkward silence. And then if I think I got something, here we go. Does it resonate? Oh, it makes no sense at all? Okay, don't worry about it. Maybe 2 weeks later, it makes sense to them. Maybe it never makes sense. And
oh yeah,
maybe I messed it up. Yep. Or maybe God will honor it in a different way.
Yeah. That's not something that my tradition, within the church has or does. Those I don't know if you use the word prophetic word, but those words, those impressions that people get, I've watched other people do that, and I've experienced it on the other side. So is that something that your church tradition, your faith tradition does around you, that you experience yourself, and that's why you thought, or the Holy Spirit was leading you to say, yeah, this is something I could use you to give to other people?
Mm-hmm. It's a really good question. Kind of takes a little bit more of the question to answer it, so I'm going to kind of rewind a little bit to give some context.
That's fine.
Basically, like, my church background, like, I'm technically non-denominational, but I've been a part of like all the denominations, I feel like, at this point. And it's not like there's something wrong with them. Like, I went to a Baptist school, helped out at a Presbyterian church, helped out at a Lutheran church. I think they're all great. I think, in a healthy context, it's different expressions, different modalities of the same intent, the same mission, the same purpose, which is following the biblical Jesus, following God, who he's revealed himself through that, right? Around end of high school, early undergrad, we were specifically at a church that we were helping out with, and some missionaries from South Africa had hung out there, and like, they were at a life group my parents were hosting and stuff, and basically all of a sudden they thought, and my parents thought at the same time, it's like, hey, y'all are supposed to live with us for a little bit during the season. So we had a full house. Yeah. It was packed. I had 2 families living in here, and they were like, God was supposed to show us the reality of the Holy Spirit moving today, like miracles and stuff like that. A lot of amazing things that I could go on a whole different podcast episode for. I feel like trying to keep it precise to the point. Specifically what happened with me, again, other backstory I won't go into, but I was born with a disability. Part of how it affected me is I had seizures growing up. And God gave me the craziest 19th birthday present. He healed me of my seizures with those missionaries praying over me and stuff like that.
Wow, very cool.
So yeah, I haven't had a seizure since that day. I haven't been on. I was going to get off meds immediately. I knew I was healed, but psychotropic meds, you want to take due process, right? Like, follow the procedure. Yes. So my parents were like, no, you should wean yourself off. So I respected that, but I've been off meds since. So any doubters, like, sure, the experiment's still going if you really want to, or you could be like, hey, maybe there's something real to this, and give it a shot and see, like, experience God for yourself, kind of thing. But so the movement of the Holy Spirit became like really just palpable and strong in my life, and seen in other people's lives and stuff. And again, it's not I'm special, I have a gift or something like that. It's God just choosing, God giving directions. And he's like, hey, I want you to be along for the ride. And if you are, awesome, you get to witness it. If not, he'll find someone else and make it happen anyway, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah, I totally know that.
Yeah, so just like, yeah, I even though I don't even know what denomination I'd fall under, like, I'm very pro Holy Spirit moving today, and kind of just going in those leaps of faith of like, hey, Spirit moves, awesome, it's gonna be amazing. If it was me and not the Spirit, well, life goes on, as long as it's a safe moment, as long as there's obviously very ways to abuse that and make it in a bad way that I think a lot of people unfortunately do, but as long as you're seeking the biblical backing behind it and just in a healthy way pursuing this, there's no real lose out of the situation in those moments.
Yeah, and I think there are different ways that the Holy Spirit interacts with different people. So, we all have different spiritual gifts. So I would try to interpret, because it does say in there the word of knowledge or a word of wisdom. I would say in some way, I think that could be what you're doing. I don't know if that's exactly what the biblical example is doing, but if the Holy Spirit can do that and give a word of knowledge or wisdom from the way we understand it, that sounds like what that could be. So I don't doubt that at all. But I do love your caution in there of test it, because we should be doing that. We should be saying, is this valid? Like, man, that is a powerful thing to have someone lay hands on you and be completely healed of something that's been an ongoing thing in your life, and be able to go off medication, which there would be evidence of the healing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just trying to catch up on chat. Turtle saying, I was raised in a Baptist church, so now your favorite phrase is, I was worried about you charismatics. Well, I don't consider myself a charismatic. I have gone to different Pentecostal churches at times for various different reasons, and actually early on when I got started as a streamer, there was a Pentecostal church that met inside of the church that I was a transition pastor for. So I was going to be there for a year and a half, however long it was going to be. And there was a Pentecostal church that met there. So I got invited to go to their church service, which was after the service I went. So I started going there several times. I had them lay hands and pray over me, which was a pretty fantastic thing. And people, talking about the streaming that I was doing, and they had no knowledge of the streaming that I was doing. So that's pretty powerful encouragement for me that I was, in fact, hearing from the Spirit when I thought I should be streaming, to have other people speak that over me as well, which was kind of cool. I did lose your camera.
Yeah, no, my computer's chugging along, and I'm trying to fix it real quick.
Okay. So
you're good.
Model's
still here. That's how we both, right? In case one gets vanished. No, I hear you're good. And yeah. Sorry, I'm just going to try to fix this real quick.
Yeah. So I don't, other than some personal experiences like that, I'm not entirely sure what that I always would do or how I would have viewed it. Certainly, I view things a whole lot better. And I like you were saying earlier, especially in the digital space, if you're pursuing after Jesus, I'm going to let the Holy Spirit deal with you and your denomination oversee you. I'm not going to tell you to change what you believe you should be doing. I'll gladly have wonderful conversations with you and pray with you and help in any way I can. But unless the Holy Spirit's given me a word that I should give to you, and then I wouldn't do it on stream, I would do it directly with you. But my experience with the Holy Spirit is not the charismatic side, but it's not necessarily what I grew up with, where I will talk, and I do this often on my stream, talk about I'm arguing with the Holy Spirit. That's my experience. Like the Holy,
nice.
The way I describe the Holy Spirit is it sounds like your own voice telling you to do something, but it's something you don't want to do. So I know it's not, my own idea to go and do this because the Holy Spirit is saying go do it, and I'm arguing with the Holy Spirit. Or I'm complaining about something, and the Holy Spirit goes, well, then why don't you do this about it? And I'm like, because then I won't be able to keep complaining about it. So,
No, absolutely. I've heard that voice, like the Holy Spirit, like that so much. I'm like, oh, we're going there. Are we okay? I guess this isn't me since I don't want to go there.
Right. And to me, that's a good, it's not that the Holy Spirit won't call you to do things that you will enjoy and you'll like doing. It's not that that's true. It's just, it's more obvious for me to know it's the Holy Spirit and not my own idea. When it's something like, hey, maybe I should go do this. Like a couple of years ago, I thought, well, I'm stepping into this. I've been talking with Romans and a few other people about streaming. Maybe I'm supposed to go full-time, try to work towards partner and stream and start doing gaming because gaming wasn't how I got started. Well, I did that for 3 months, 4 hours on Monday, 4 hours on Tuesday, in addition to everything else I was doing. I didn't have any more people watching my stream after 3 months than I did the first time I went live streaming a game. And it was like, I'm burning myself out. So maybe this was my idea and this wasn't what God had in mind. So maybe I shouldn't try to make it happen. So to go back to you're talking about having patience is not one of those things I'm really good at. Also, I like
Well, even content itself is a long game. Yeah,
Oh,
sorry, I didn't mean to
yes.
interrupt you, but like, yeah, like
Yeah.
you make a change, you could make that change for 4 years and see no change, and all of a sudden, like,
Oh, yeah. It
yeah.
was, but it was like committed to it and then committed to evaluate. And
Mhm.
the evaluation was maybe I'm doing this to try to promote myself, and that's
Absolutely.
not what I should be doing. If it had been, no, I'm not doing this to promote myself, it would have been okay. Then let's give it another 3 months and see if we do something different, or maybe I need to adjust it. Maybe Monday and Tuesday is the wrong day. I missed my audience, or maybe it's the wrong game. But it was like, no, I think I was trying to make it happen, and that wasn't what I was supposed to be doing.
Seeing through what could have appeared as those layers was like getting to the heart of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So when you have a I think this could be, and the Holy Spirit isn't clear, it's easy to run ahead of. And
Mhm.
now I
Yep.
I am convinced I'm not supposed to leave Twitch. I'm supposed to hang out here, and this is where I'm supposed to be. I had no idea I was going to do a podcast a year ago. I mean, that wasn't even a conversation yet a year ago. So here I am. I don't know how many episodes in, and into the second season, into the revamping of things, because the first was
Amazing.
yeah, it's like, okay. And like this, like I'm not going to run out of friends to be able to have on the podcast. They'll just either decide that my podcast isn't worth the time and God's done using it. But I won't run out of friends to invite on the podcast. And there's always something unexpected that the conversation goes to, and had no plans that, like, I just get curious and I like to learn, and learning more about my friends is one of those fun things, and seeing what God is up to and celebrating those things is just super fun for me. So, yeah. So
I love it.
That's why I love it. Let's see, where were we at before? Okay, so we did talk about reach a little bit. Why don't we just kind of fully talk about that? So you got involved with it to start with getting invited in to do the Helldivers and teach. Were you in the Discord community much before that? You didn't go to?
Yeah,
Did you go to first year of Reach?
I was first year. I was
Okay,
first year
trying
reach.
to remember. You were at the first year of Reach. Yeah, I didn't connect with the VTubers that were at the first year. So if you were connected with the VTubers, then so you were at Reach the first year. Did you do the Alpha course?
The Alpha Series?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you did the Alpha.
I was
Okay.
part of Kiori Lupine's team, and
Oh.
so that's we were the bundle.
Okay.
Myself, Mako, and some others were all part of. There was like 5 or 6 of us were that team for that ministry specifically.
Okay, that makes sense. So for those that don't know, part of the original thought behind getting some streamers together was we were going to prove to some different organizations, that the church at large, that this is viable ministry and people are responding to it. So we're going to go do an alpha course within our communities and bring the gospel to so many people and see what we were able to do in a short window of time. And then Reach Conference was a celebration of we accomplished a lot of those things. So I ran it, and actually when Romans came to me and said we're thinking about doing alpha, I'd already taught alpha many times, and I was already thinking, so this was like, I don't know if it was confirmation for him or not, but as soon as you said that, I go, dude, I was already planning on doing that this year. I already had the Holy Spirit talking to me about what can I do in my community, and I'm like, I know alpha, I'll just go do that. And so it was like, yeah, sign me up. What do I need to do? How do I help out? What can I do? And so it was cool in that regard. So had you had exposure to alpha before that? And those that don't know, alpha essentially is an introduction to the Christian faith course.
Yeah, so it's very interesting. I had multiple instances of like indirect, like almost secondary connection with alpha. One of the ministries I was a part of in undergrad on campus, they were part of the church called Valley Vineyard in our area, and every Sunday evening they would go through alphas. I didn't know what alphas meant. I thought it was just something specific to them or something part of their thing. But then at the time of year one reach, I was going through the Bible in a Year plan through the pastors who made the Alpha series. And so,
Oh,
in their
okay.
devotional, some of them, they would make that. And so then I made that connection. I talked to Aki, but I was like, oh, and then like I talked to Jade about it. I was like, oh, it's just all those dots, like, wow. It was like God was like speaking to all of us at the same time about this potential mission thing that he was preparing the way for. Who would have thought?
Yeah, yeah. So cool. Yeah, I didn't know you were over. Like I said, this is one of those things. Like, there's just so much to always learn and have conversations with people and figure those things out. So yeah, that's right. You were there at the Alpha the first year. What was not Alpha at Reach the first year? What were some things that your community learned going through Alpha?
That's a really good question. So the way we did Alpha, we would all watch the video together, and then we'd break up into smaller groups amongst our teams. Now I'm having to like go through my memory thing. The thing with my Alpha group that was very interesting is at the beginning we had a lot of non-believers in my group specifically, which was really cool and really interesting getting the perspectives and stuff. And
Absolutely.
then like the middle, like I know other groups were still good, but my group kind of ended up being like a Christian bubble in a moment. I was like, well, how can we explore deeper with this? And so I tried to like tailor those questions towards our audience at the time. But then towards the end, it kind of started like refolding itself. And so I think, at least personally speaking, it gave you a great template. They give you a great resource to initiate those conversations. If you don't know how to have those conversations, if you don't know how to create that space for that environment, which I think is really great. I think it's really good with that system, because we can easily get caught up in like, sharpening ourselves with the word and stuff, but then we're just always stuck in the Christian bubble instead. So how can you take that without completely just full sending into some other like random community you don't know and then just taking that walk the plank leap of faith kind of thing? How can you like mesh both of those worlds together where you can still have the Christian grounding because it is a Christian devotional plan? Technically, it's just tailoring the questions in a inquiring perspective as opposed to an already believer perspective kind of thing.
Well, one of the other things that's, I think, so valuable about Alpha is that Alpha isn't there to answer your questions. Alpha is there to engage you where you are in the question. So instead of the leader, the facilitators being the experts in the room with all the answers to teach you, they are there to redirect you to deeper thinking or to invite others into the conversation. Hey, that's a really interesting thing that you shared. I'm fascinated. Could you tell me more about it? Or, wow, that was such a good answer. What do others think? Or even not a good answer. Like that's,
others think, yeah.
What do others think about this? So that's one of the wonderful things that I love about Alpha is it really taught me how to have conversations with people who are not believers instead of saying, I have all the answers. They're right here.
Well, the Bible says this.
The Bible says this, and so therefore it's true. Well, that's fine if you believe in the Bible, but if you don't believe in the Bible, that's like somebody who's a Muslim quoting the Quran, and you're like, well, I'm not going to give it the time of day. I don't believe in the Quran.
Good talk, buddy.
Right. Good on you. I'm not going to pay any attention to you. It's the same thing. Now, we might argue it's not the same thing because we have the power of the Spirit and the Spirit indwelling people, that the word won't return void. Agreed.
Amen.
However, the conversation goes a whole lot different if I engage the person instead of I'm the answer person to make sure you know all the right answers and you have to believe the right way. We now have relationship development that's going and happening so that you begin to trust me, even if you don't trust the Bible. And
are you talking at them or with them kind of thing?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good analogy too. You're talking with them instead of talking at them. Yep. So I love that we did that. I thought maybe we'd do it again for year 2. It didn't happen. We moved and shifted in a different direction. It was valuable for what it was. We did a different thing for year 2. What have been some of the most impactful things for you, either that you were able to learn and grow yourself from the 2 alpha conferences, or an experience that you were able to have where you watch someone else grow and change?
Right. So year one was definitely that, like, not it made it real kind of thing, but it created that layer of depth, because this is people, I mean, like 2016, 2017, I'd been doing, like, sure, I wasn't streaming yet, but I was still online in Discord, still, like, doing ministry online in these spaces, being like trying to love on people, reaching out to save versus non-save kind of thing. So year one really kind of like just added so much more depth to the mission God had been using in my life. Because it's so easy to feel like, well, there's no like worldly product from it or something, like where's your like success, where's your legacy or something like things like that which are understandable. It's not like it's wrong to pursue those things, because I mean that's the visible, tangible value you can see of it. But like there's something more important than that we're actually working with, and seeing that we're all together, and also seeing, because by year one of Reach, I had been streaming, I had this mission, and I was basically doing my mission in front of me. Like I'm seeing Jake connect with Kaito and the VTubers, and they really hit it off, and they really end up like, and then Jake does his VTubing thing. Like I'm seeing like, Aki connecting with like people I knew that, I thought they would have never interacted based on their communities and stuff like that. Right. And so year one was just, that kind of was just the overwhelming theme of that. Like for me personally, just seeing, like, hey, this is God's mission. He's invited me to be a part of it. But whether I drop the ball or not, God's going to do his thing. Like, sure, I still need to try my best. I still need to go for it. But his mission isn't dependent on me.
Yes, absolutely. You just get to participate in it. Yeah. Exactly.
The elephant in the bridge analogy I'll get to in a little later, because I want to finish your question first. Year two, definitely a little different, a lot bigger, but a lot of still like, God connecting. I feel like the irony is like so many of the God talks were so often outside of the events themselves.
Yes.
Like God can work beyond the structure of the conference at times. Like there were like the stat chats were amazing. Don't get me wrong. I'm not bashing the conference by any means, but God isn't limited to working amidst the conference schedule kind of thing. And so, while year one, like we were always like gaming, like hanging out in the hotel lounge afterwards. Year two was really just like the conversations in between each event. I missed the Beat Server tournament. My bad. Like, because God was busy having important conversations going on. So, just connect with people that, certain people that, I knew of, like, and like I thought were friends, but then like all of a sudden I'm having like 3-4 hour conversation with them, and God's just like, growing us in ways and breakthrough in our lives. That's like, neither of us are pastors. We're not like, I don't know how to say it. Like none of us is like, it's not like an authority, like speaking into a point, like a mentor thing, but it's like God just doing it himself with you both, because you both are seeking God while seeking each other. And I felt that with so many different conversations, just connecting with so many different people. People who I knew of, who part of the network person is sometimes you'll know people, but they won't know you, because content creators, you're making your own space. It's understandable. That's your purpose. That's your mission. That's your job. Like, yeah, you'll see people like if you collab with them. And like, I think Reach helps lift a lot of people's heads up so they can see, oh yeah, they're not alone in this. But, the pros and cons of not having a community sometimes, like, oh yeah, I do know I can connect with all these other people. But then the cons is like, sometimes there's those connections. It's like, who are you again? It's like, but then God still moves regardless of it. Right. So, yeah, I think for me specifically, Friday night stood out the most. The Friday night worship session stood out the most for me for Reach amidst all of that, though, because God was just personal breakthrough, personal development, personal things that have just been felt on hold for at least 1.5 years, if not more. Sure, they're not solved, they're not fulfilled, but he's meeting me where I was in them, and he's pointing to what next steps can look like with that.
Yeah.
Even if it's even creaking the door open a little bit, at least there's like, oh, this was correct. I wasn't just wasting my time this whole time kind of thing.
Yeah. For conferences, I've always been one of those people that the content has never been the key to the conference for me.
Mm.
Often, like, I would go to a conference, come back, have conversations with my wife about the conference, and she would say, so what, you know, she was asking me questions about the conference, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know what the speaker said. I bought his book. The first part was good, but then they said this one phrase, which my mind went down this road, and the Holy Spirit was working on me with this, and then I was processing all this other stuff, and then I had a conversation afterwards with this other person. So it's just like it was never like, I can get the content. I'll get the video afterwards, which I usually
the recordings, right?
I'll get the recordings. I'll learn all the stuff I needed to that I missed. But what I couldn't duplicate was being in the presence where I was around other people, where I could take that one root of what you're saying. My mind could relax enough to then make all these connections with things. And I would do that. Now, as I've gone through conferences more and more, what I'm finding is what I want more is the engaging people who are at the conference and including the vendors. I love engaging the vendors.
Yeah, the vendors was great.
In what they're doing and what's going on in their lives and what they're bringing, and building those relationships, because I'm also a networker. I am always plugging things together with other people. If you come and hang out with theChurch.digital and you're going, hey, do you know anybody that's doing it? I'm going to be one of the people that says, yeah, let me connect you with somebody else that's doing it. That's just the natural part of who I am. So I love that connecting piece. We need to play, you know, well, in my denomination, since it's a Dutch heritage, and my wife is Dutch, we call it Dutch bingo. And that's when, oh, you need this? I know that person who knows that person who's at this church, and let me connect the two of you together. We call it Dutch bingo is what we call that.
That's great.
So I'm a Dutch bingo champion. I connect people all over the place. I love doing that. It's a lot of fun. And if you're listening to this podcast and you're going, hey, I'm not a VTuber, I don't know about that. Hey, I'm not a Twitch streamer, I don't know about that. Well, that's okay. Reach out anyway, because I probably know somebody that's either thinking about or doing some of the things you're thinking about. In fact, I want to say January of this year, I connected 3 different people that did not know each other that were all talking about doing sign language ministry digitally.
Oh, wow. That's so good.
So I don't know where that's at, but my job is done. I've connected the 3 of you, and if God's going to move in that space, I got to help out, and now I get to sit back and see what God does, and he blesses people, and I may never, ever know.
So good.
Dragon Spit, never chatted here before, but thanks to whoever gifted you a sub a while back. Awesome. Well, welcome in.
Glad to have you here. And yeah, there was a random anonymous gift sub bomb that happened in my stream the other day, and it was like a bunch of people that were like, hey, I didn't even know this channel existed, but I'm gifted a sub. Okay. It's like, okay, we'll take it.
I've always found that curious of how you can get subs to channels that don't exist. But
I think part of it, like, maybe like raids of raids and then another raid happen if you leave a tab open sometimes. Like, you get put in their database. Because, like, there are channels, like, I click on it because I accidentally clicked on, like, I was trying to find, like, the stream next to it. And then, like, 3 minutes later, you were gifted a sub to them. It's like, I didn't even chat, immediately clicked out. I feel like it's like, if you got in from a raid or, like, a blind query, like, I could be 100% wrong on that, but that's my personal theory.
Well, that would make some sense, because early on when I was watching Twitch, and I was doing a lot more watching because I wasn't streaming yet, I would have 6 tabs up, and I would just leave them up 24/7. And so I would end up in all kinds of weird places by the time I got back. So there's probably, like, it could be like, you know, from 4 years ago or 5 years ago that I was in your stream and didn't even, I don't know you exist because I never watched you.
Yeah.
That makes some sense. Okay. But to go back to Reach Conference, so I alluded to this, and I love doing this in the podcast, by the way, alluding to something, and you got to hang around and see if I actually talk about it later. We had, like, interacted in the Helldiver thing, and we had interacted in the Discord server, but like I mentioned, we're both on opposite sides of the coast of the U.S. We're in different time zones. I'm a morning streamer, you're an evening streamer, and then that gets amplified. we're not on around the same time to be able to do much engagement with one another. So we're going to leave, and it was when, you know, all of a sudden they're talking about shutting down the airports and cancellation of different flights and all of that stuff. And because the government was doing it, there was no requirement from the airlines to provide any compensation or hotels or anything like that. I get to the airport after, so I did the Airbnb. I had a bunch of people there. I rented the vehicle. I'm shuttling people, looping. I'd been to the airport 3 or 4 times already in the day before I showed up, returned the rental car to go to the airport. So I've already been back and forth multiple times during the day. I show up. I can't scan. It won't scan. It said I'm in first class now, which is cool, but it's got the wrong date. It's got tomorrow on there. So I have to wait in line, get up to the person at the counter, and I'm like, I know they've got problems. And when you know that, like, if you've ever worked in the service industry, be patient with people. Like, raising your voice and getting upset, they're not the ones who cause the problem. They're the ones who can fix the problem, if they can fix it for you. Always going to get more value by treating them with dignity and respect and love. So I'm just like, hey, I'm not sure exactly what's going on. Here's what it is. Can you check into this for me? Is there any way I can get home today? I was supposed to be on this flight. I get changed. Then that flight's canceled. Is my first flight still going? Could I get on that flight again and get out? What happened was my flight got shifted to a new flight, but I only got on standby. I didn't actually get a ticket on that new flight. Then that flight got canceled. So since I'm all patient and talking to them, and she's like, I can't change anything. I don't have to, but since you were originally here and that happened here, I'll give you a hotel room. So, and I knew other people had some issues and problems, and some people were staying another day. I just went to the Discord and I said, hey, anybody else, if you get stranded, I got a hotel room, and you can come and hang out with me if you need to. So I was just about to go to bed. I'd just taken some cold medicine, and you had messaged and said, hey, is that room still available? And I'm like, yeah, that'd be awesome. And I didn't tell you this then. I'm thinking in the back of my mind, I was just about to lay down. If you hadn't messaged me, I would have been asleep within like 15 minutes, and you would have just been stuck at the
any other
airport.
stalling. Yeah.
It's
wild to think about.
Right. So it came through, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll be fine. I'll just, I'll just wake myself up. I won't go to sleep. I had to have been halfway coherent through half of our conversation, but it was amazing conversation that we had.
It was great.
Had dinner together and then chatted until I finally said, I'm going to pass out. I got to go to bed and get up to go to the airport. But we had it, and man, we were talking some deep stuff, which was really, really cool, and doing some reflection and speaking into, I think, each other's lives in a really cool way that I think God does when you have those moments where it's like, I'm just here, and I was like, oh, that's why I didn't get to go home, because we needed to have a deep conversation, which was fantastic. And I'm still reflecting on some of the things I can recall. I don't think I can recall everything that happened, but it was like really powerful and meaningful to be able to hang out with you for a few hours that night. It was cool, man.
Yeah, it was. God wanted us to have an after party in the midst of a chaotic storm.
Yes.
Yeah, like, I mean, from my perspective of it, it was very easy to get caught up in the panic and stuff like that.
Yes.
My flight got delayed. I had to go from Florida to Fort Worth and Fort Worth to Los Angeles area. And I'm just like looking, I'm like, my connection flight is perfectly fine. DFW was fine. It was Orlando that was unpacked. I'm like, there goes my flight. Then they move us back, finally get us on the plane. I'm like, let's go. We're in the plane. Surely we're okay now, right? We stayed in the plane for about the duration of the flight. And they're like, hey guys, sorry, our shift's over. We got to take you back in. We tried our best, but we didn't make it through the queue of the gridlocked planes because of the concoction of government shutdown, weather doing its thing. So like, at that point, I'm like, just trying to be calm. Like, I know God's got a big picture, but it's really easy to freak out in the moment. And I was like, whoa, I don't remember having anxiety. It's been like, I was a little kid since the last time this happened, but this is all of a sudden manifesting. Like, what's going on here? So I'm like, just standing in the airport. I'm like, caught in indecision, like trying to figure out what to do. And I'm like, I'm just going to pull the trigger. Let's see if that room's there. And if I got caught in hesitation, trepidation, or anything like that, I mean, all those gates would have just like proverbially been closed in theory. Like, if you think about it that way, like it just all those variables lined up like that. And then, I just hung out in the hotel. And then, like God was like, hey, you guys you don't have anything you're bringing, like no baggage, no like agenda. You don't have anywhere to go. Like, so we can just be as raw and pure as God wanted to take that. And it was an amazing moment. And it's just like, the peace of the Holy Spirit amidst that was just like, and then, you just can't make up the variables afterwards. We're on the tram to get to the airport from the hotel, and it's playing worship music. I'm like, what? Like, hello?
Yep.
Everything in that, like, just such an intentional sequencing that you cannot make that up. There was no random chance there at all.
Yeah, and you had, plenty of time before your flight, so you hung out with me in the queue, making sure that, I got up in there, I got checked in, I was good to go. It would have been great if we were in the same, terminal, then we could have hung out even longer. But it was like, when you get done with a conference like that, you're like, oh man, it's done. And I got to go back. And it was like, no, it wasn't done. There was more. there was more. And I didn't have anything that I needed to rush back for. So I didn't have that anxiety of, I got to get back today. It wasn't anything long, it was like, I did jokingly when I checked out at the airport and I had to pay my parking. She said, I got home at, I don't remember, it was like midnight or something still, even though I was early in the morning. I had a massive, awful 4 or 5 hour layover, on the way back, but I'm getting there and I'm like paying for it. And I'm just joking. Like, she's saying something about this or whatever. And I go, well, I was supposed to be here yesterday. And so, but with everything going on, I go, hey, can you comp the government for that extra that I have to pay in parking? She just laughed so hard. Like, I can't do anything about it. Like, I know you can't. I know you can't. I'm just trying to, make light of the fact that, like, one small decision can complicate a lot of people's lives, and there's a lot of ripple effect that goes into it. And then there's a few people at times where you get the opportunity to see it a different way. And I think consider it all joy, and that was the attitude that you brought. And I really appreciate that, being able to spend that time in there instead of just being alone in the hotel room until I fell asleep. We got to hang out for a while. So
it's just such a, I think on both our ends, it's such a testament of, like, you could be there alongside everyone freaking out and panicking in that, or you could let the peace of the Holy Spirit work in you and through you. Because instead, when I go up to the receptionist, I'm like, how dare you guys do this, when it obviously didn't do it. Like, you're the token person not yelling at them, not like, showing them love and grace and patience, like whether they deserve it or not, right? And so like those are the powerful moments that, like, we can be so mindful of. And if we're intentional in those moments, like,
oh, absolutely,
the doors that can open for God to move is just amazing. I remember, sorry, just a real quick rewind. Like, the number one thing that was holding me back was, like, because I had work that next day. I canceled, like, my Wednesday, Thursday classes so I could fly out. But then Monday I was like, I can't take off 3 days of classes. That's way too many canceled classes. I'm texting my coworkers on a Sunday afternoon who's going to, like, check their work phone kind of thing, work stuff, right? And they just immediately got coverage. Like, at the first delay, the first onset, I was like, oh, cool. I don't need to think about Monday now. Awesome. Like, I can just deal with where I am right here and just let God do his thing. And, like, I feel like that was one of the first assurances. Like, getting coverage at work's usually a nightmare. People aren't available at time. That's why they're not scheduled on those shifts, right? So, right. So yeah, that was just the first thing. There was just God, like, hey, I've got it, and I've got some things in store for you. And so yeah, it was just so beautiful.
Yeah, it's and it's not like that would be naturally I want to go to. It'd be like, I want to solve the problem. I want it solved my way. I want it now. Mm-hmm. But it's just such a better approach on some level. I'll also say this. Usually, well, I'm going to put it a different way. I've worked in the service industry, and when I was going through seminary, I delivered pizzas. And it's amazing what a $5 tip can do to your entire night. Now, I know that was 25 years ago, okay? So a $5 tip isn't the same today as it was 25
Like, what do
years
you mean?
ago.
That's rude nowadays.
Well, like, there like a dollar tip was usually what you got. You did not get more unless somebody was being generous. They might give you $2. And so a $5 tip was like over the top, like outrageous tip at the time. And I was like, if I got that tip on a Friday night and I got stiffed all day Saturday and I got like no tips, I was still on a high from that $5 tip the day before. It was that significant. Yeah. And I think I took the attitude, especially with industry where you are, the person is serving you and you can see they're having a bad day. You can either go along with the bad day that they are experiencing and say, well, my food was cold, it took forever, it was awful, and you deserve no tip. Or you can take it and say, the food was awful, it wasn't here on time, everything was wrong, and I saw you doing your very best. I'm going to give you the best tip I can give you because I want to change your day. And I think that's some of the attitude that we can have as a Christian is, I can see that this is not your fault. I can see you're doing your best. How do I change the trajectory of the rest of this shift that you have? And who knows, maybe even the rest of your week to move in a different direction. And I think we do that also when we come into streaming. Somebody comes in, like we were talking about earlier, and maybe they're trolling to begin with because life is falling apart. They're trying to control one aspect. They're trying to get something in their life that they feel like and this is how they're going to choose to do it. But you don't know what's bubbling under the surface, what they're responding to, what they're doing, and you get to be the person that shows them a different reflection than they're expecting to have in the moment.
What a practical way to be in the world and not of the world. Of course, it's not only condensed to that, but that's the example because everyone else is expecting the normal response. Yeah. But, you know, all of a sudden, whoa, what? Like that 404 error comes in.
I am going to smile and think of you every time I see a 404 error. I mean, it's just, you know what? I might even the next time it happens, if I remember in the moment, is to screenshot it and send it to you. I might do that just to kind of go, hey, thinking about you, buddy. So everybody just start spamming 404 errors to Stratus.
And before my DMs are flooded, I'm like, whoa, what's this? I was like, oh, it's all 404.
It's all 404 errors. Oh, what a fun inside joke that would be. Wow, I'm just trying to think if there is anything we didn't cover reflecting on Reach that maybe you wanted to share or think about.
I feel like Reach stuff was pretty good. We talked about, you know, Alpha initially, then like kind of impacted the conference. I feel like that covered most of the bases. It's just whatever comes next with Reach is what we'd have to see.
Oh, yeah. I've already got my tickets, already planning on being there. I definitely, you know, I'm committed to several different places over the years of where I want to spend my time and invest and network. And so, yeah, unless something interferes with it, my plan is to continue to go to and be a part of Reach as far as I'm able to, as well as some other places. And God's got me connected with theChurch.digital and trying to do other things through that space. And so networking from there is a lot of fun. And that's got me doing the podcast. Without theChurch.digital, I wouldn't be doing the podcast. So that's an interesting thing.
Thank you, theChurch.digital, for giving this man a mic to have this amazing podcast.
Yeah,
be able to connect these awesome friends.
Yeah, it is super cool. Well, what happened was, I want to say a couple of years ago, we did have a number of Twitch streamers come on, and we did a gaming like, I don't remember, a 6 or 8 week series kind of thing. So we created the channel and did all the streams on the channel. So I believe Susie Live was on the podcast. Might have been Aki. I don't remember if Aki was on it. Bubba from Love Thy Nerd. I think Mark from Lux Digital Church. So some of those people were on, and probably Jate too. And then it was like, all right, now do we do the channel? Well, they started doing multi-streaming when they had regular guests for podcasts, but it didn't have a lot of traction. So it was kind of like, well, we have this channel. What should we do with it? Do you want the channel? Like, okay, what should I do with it? So, had some conversations, and I was like, all right, let's do this. And then I'm like, okay, I don't know where I had heard this, so I don't know if that's actually true or not, but I heard the majority of podcasts don't make it past 10 episodes. So my thought was, I don't want to publish it anywhere until I get to 10 episodes. Then
so we're ready for 11 episodes.
Right. So as soon as I hit episode 11, I'm like, all right, we're putting it on YouTube. I've got it.
That's so funny.
I've got some feet. I mean, like the other thing that somebody was saying not too long ago was the first time they went live was the worst stream they were ever going to have. And I'm like, oh, that sounds awful, until you go, wait, that means I get better all the time. And Jate says this all the time, get 1% better every day.
1%.
I'm hoping this is 1% better than last week or the week before, because, boy, I don't know if I want to go back and listen to those first few episodes. They were kind of rough, and the trajectory and the plan has changed a bit and been refined, but all the way along, God has been using it and doing some amazing things, and it's just so much fun getting to know people on a deeper level. That when I'm just sitting in your chat, I don't ask all these questions. I don't. I just sit and I go, all right, you're playing the game. All right, you're doing this thing. I join the conversation in the chat. I don't get curious about what God's doing and your life and all of those things, which is just so much more fun to talk through and all those things.
Absolutely, yeah. Being able to just take that space where I stream, like, I mean, it's great. I mean, we know a lot of amazing streamers who do great jobs connecting with their chat, but it's a train is going one way and you're either going with the current or the train for that conversation. It's like, but wait, what about this? And so I think there's definitely like spaces for stuff like this, and like podcasts and just chatting blocks, just taking let's stop the train for a second, for those who need a rest stop real quick, and let's if we can go deeper, let's go deeper with that and see what's going on.
Yeah. And in a podcast, I have more control to do that than in the chat, where
absolutely
it's really cool. And I think we end up exploring some things that, like, a couple of you are like, oh, let me rewind and let me think about that. It's I'm not always good at that. Like, this is one of those things that I struggle with for myself, is to do those things, but I'm really curious with other people, and I think I can help, think through some of those things. So just thinking in that vein of where God has brought you to, some of the things that you've encountered, some of the blessings you've had, the obstacles to overcome, what is God calling you to either expand or move in a new direction, or what are you excited about to do next year?
It's a really good question. The only way, I think, like God was saying, like, throw out the net with next year.
Ooh.
In a lot of, and digitally and in real life, like, throw out the net was basically what he was saying.
Yep. That is a risky thing to do, is to not have a safety net to catch you. To step out in faith and believe that God has got you. That is, well, I can say that's where I was. What was it? 2 years ago, 3 years ago? Went to NCMS, and Pastor Scar was talking about same kind of thing, but his language was, "Are you willing to trust God again?" And I went, "I already did. I shouldn't have to do it again." Like, no, thank you, sir. Change the question. I don't want that question. But it's kind of, really when I was stepping into doing some stuff with the Church Digital, it was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to step out. Like you're talking, there was no net. There is no safety net. If it fails, it fails, and you're going to fail with it, and who knows what the consequences will be. Is there something more specific that you need to step into? And you don't have to share if there's not, or if you don't want to share, if you're still processing it. Because sometimes we get the image without knowing all the details, but sometimes we know what we're wrestling with, and that confirmation goes, oh, yeah, why must be uncomfy?
Exactly,
yeah.
So, going from that joke of the patience arc, the be still and know that I'm God, wait on the Lord, that has been the motto of 2023, even into 2024 when I took the break and stuff like that. Taking out the net, it's great to have the safety net. It's great, when God's going to be there, and God's going to be there regardless. But if this net is being there for safety, it can't be used to toss out to catch more. And I think for both in real life with there's a net that was potentially drawn about with reach of universities to apply to and stuff like that, to just send out the applications and see what bites. So especially during next semester, I'm going to be reaching out to a lot of different, applying to a lot of different universities in different states and stuff. No real certainty behind it, because hey, what if I end up in this state all of a sudden? There's no action plan to prepare for each of them. But then even with streaming, part of rewinding to, when Holy Spirit was really moving, at that 19th birthday, God had also put a calling of heart for musical worship and a gifting of my voice, which I'm not an amazing singer. God, it's a process that you need to work on and stuff. I'm a novice musician, novice singer, all that stuff. And whether it's I've been inconsistent and not faithful to it, whatever, you could say that, or you could be like, hey, God had other journeys along the way. But God's what ended up happening is I started getting too focused on what other people think about it, rather than it only matters to one person, God.
Yeah.
So being more abandonment, with that reckless abandonment towards music, worship, and just being, that's part of what's bringing back on streams and stuff. This Sunday I just did a small Christmas concert where my voice definitely didn't survive the full thing, but it was like, hey, is this for entertaining streaming, or is this an offering of worship to God, kind of thing? So it's going to be exciting, it's going to be scary, but as long as I follow where God's leading, it's going to do his thing. There's a lot of things that, even the flight home finally from Reach, I feel like God has revealed so many things that aren't yet in fruition, but I'm scared that I'm filling in those blanks like I did in 2024, 2023.
Yep, I totally.
So that's part of still waiting on it.
Yeah, I totally get that. A little bit of a piece and stepping forward ahead of the path of God when he's just saying, be prepared, get ready, and the time to implement is further down the road. I will say, one of the things that when I was doing theater and doing drama ministry for the church, I would always encourage people our message might be for one person who's here. And so just with your singing, maybe it is going to reach one person and that's it when you go live. But is that worth going live because that one person needed to hear you that day? Bring that. So just an encouragement there as you're stepping into that and figuring that out. I actually, oddly enough, was just talking with my wife because I mostly make fun of music. I don't usually sing well. But I, for some reason, can turn Christmas songs into sea shanties. And so
that's great.
So I was doing this and I said, you know what? I actually feel like I can carry a tune to a sea shanty. What I need to do is find a group of people that just want to sing sea shanties, and I can join that group and be a singing sea shanty group, and we'll just sing that. So, that's the only way you're getting me probably singing on a regular basis on a stream, other than a few lines here or there. And right now I'm doing a Christmas song challenge, and I try to sing the songs to start with, and half of them are horrible and off key. And then I'll throw in one or two here that are in there that are funny and hilarious. And so I don't have that gift. I would love that gift. So if God is giving that to you and it's a thing that takes time, I would say be patient with it to let it develop for whatever purpose God has, not just for today, but for tomorrow.
God was also revealing more than, like, you can just box it up so easily like that. Like, oh, it clearly I must be a singer then, right? That's my calling, right?
Yes.
Based on that moment. But like even like this last year, like ever since I joined Kyori, Kaito, their VTuber ministry and stuff like that, like like once a month I would be like, preaching a message to them, and then my parents had me guest preaching at their church and stuff. So like voice doesn't have to be singing. Voice can be speaking his word.
Yes.
And bring it. So there's this is a vessel that can have multiple purposes to it, and that's really what God was revealing with like on the onset before Reach this year. And it was like, oh yeah, okay, so even if, say, worst case scenario, I was just not being consistent, and I'm supposed to have been a rock star by now, let's say, right? Like God still has grace over that. God's still like, hey, here's another chance. Let's go for it. Let's do this. And here's other avenues I can show you where I'm still honoring that gifting I've put on you that I want you to walk in obedience for. But going back to what you were saying, because it's really funny you mentioned that, the sea shanty Christmas thing, not to railroad it a little bit, but, Aki and I think Jate and them did the Christmas carols in Arc Raiders. Okay. And that inspired, I don't know if you met Dracabro at Reach. He's getting some people and they're doing Christmas carols in Sea of Thieves. So I was like, wait a second, we need to get you on Sea of Thieves and doing Christmas theme sea shanties. That would be perfect.
I haven't jumped into Sea of Thieves, but
it's so funny.
I have played the Assassin's Creed, and did all the sea shanties. Oh well, like so half the time people mumble when they're singing, and or they don't fully enunciate. And it sounds like something else that they're singing. So, what was it? Black Flag, I think, was the Assassin's Creed that had all the sea shanties. And there's like you could buy the whole album on it. There's one I do not know what the actual words are, but I started singing it this way, and it's just like one of those inside jokes with my kids and stuff. Stupid tiny falcon, I hate the tiny falcon. Do what tiny falcons do. And so you just start singing that, like, stupid tiny falcon, I hate the tiny falcon, do what tiny falcons do. I have no idea what they're really singing. But the other thing is their school mascot was a falcon. So this made it even funnier.
That's so good.
To just throw this out there, like somebody's going on about a falcon or the falcon gets mentioned and just like, stupid tiny falcon. Just like, you just start to mumble that and then just like brings the whole song back up. And it's like, now, if he went and told anybody else playing Assassin's Creed, they're going to go, what song are you talking about? I don't know that song. Like, it's not,
before it's nothing about falcons.
It's nothing about falcons probably in that song whatsoever. But that's what my brain does. It fills in words that aren't there or what it hears. And which that's why I got kicked out of Sunday school when I was like, 6, 7 years old. So
that's great.
I'm sure my mom loves whenever I start to, the tell your testimony, tell your life story. And I always start with, I got kicked out of Sunday school when I was 6, 7 years old. Like that's the thing every parent is proud of, right? Hey, as always.
What did you achieve?
And look,
I got kicked out of Sunday school.
It's been all uphill since then. God was like, I'm not done with you yet. Yeah, well, not Bible college, but maybe a couple of churches along the way that it was no longer going to be doing ministry there. And, but that's my story. We're not here for that. Well, that's super cool. Thinking about and I love just thinking about what God is going to prepare the good works for us to do in advance before we do those. Oh, that's one of the things I was going to say. You were mentioning, and I'm sure you could reach out to anybody in Reach if it happened. But yeah, absolutely, dude. If you ended up somewhere in Michigan, man, I've got extra room. I've always kind of done this. During COVID, I think I had 5 or 6, my sons and their friends living in my basement because they had no place to go. So I've got plenty of space available for people. If it's just a place to crash for a short term or even long term, I do open up and let people come in. So it's available, even if it's, you know, an hour away or 2 hours. I probably know other people that are closer. So
I appreciate that. I will see. There was a back in 23, I think, when some of the initial stuff was happening, there was a school in Michigan that was on the radar for sure. So we'll see if we end up reaching out there again anyway, just as throwing out the net anyway.
well, that's
just
what I'm
any
just
and
saying.
all
You're throwing
yeah.
out the net. If you hadn't thought about it, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
you know, go ahead.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah, like I say, my daughter is 2 hours away in another direction, and my mom is 5 hours away in another direction, and I've got friends that are 3 hours away, and I know other people that are on Twitch and in TCD scattered across the whole state. So they might not all have a place to stay, but there's at least a connection that
You won't be like a lone new expedition, solo journey kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, and I'm not going to say where on stream. I have put my name out there for a church overseas as well. There's a pastor who needs to come back to the States for the summer next year and is looking for someone to fill in. I threw my name out there. So I have no idea if that's a thing that would even happen. I don't expect to hear anything until after Christmas. If it does, if I'm even viable candidate for them, I don't know. But, you know, that whole throw it out and see what God is up to, I can't say yes to it if God doesn't open the door and they invite me to go. So I was actually processing through going there and time zone change and figuring out what time of the day I would have to stream to be able to keep my community at the same time. And it's like, oh, that really wouldn't be that bad. It would be mid-afternoon that I would stream so that I would be on when my stream would be in the morning. It would make it totally horrible to connect with anybody West Coast at that point, though. That would get even more difficult.
Yeah, time zones do be that way sometime, unfortunately.
K-Man, no, not Australia, not that far around the globe. I would love it if it was Australia, but no.
Yeah, tropical, just keep me up on TFT, and then I'll be able to make the stream. There we go.
Yeah, Australia is definitely one of those places eventually to get to. New Zealand as well. Yeah, Asia, Oceania, India, I have not been to. I should say I've touched an island or so off the coast of South America that's technically South America, but otherwise I've been all over.
Asterisk.
yeah, it's an asterisk there. Yeah. I've been to Europe. I've been to Africa. I've been all over North America. So it's maybe time to go someplace else. Who knows?
Who knows?
Just trying to think if there's anything else that we haven't talked about. Things that you've been up to, or just maybe something that maybe got like you have the, hey, is there just a word? Maybe you have a word for somebody that's just come up as we've had this conversation that you don't know who it's for, but maybe God's just got a word that you have for somebody that's listening to it live, or maybe later on in the podcast when they're listening to the VOD.
Nothing had really come up in the moment, but I also hadn't been like intentionally paying attention for one. To be fair.
Oh, I know.
But
I'm just
yeah, we can give it a couple minutes and see.
Yeah, just thinking through some of those, because it's interesting how God weaves and works things and the timing of things. I've said it numerous times. I had no plans to be a Twitch streamer. I had no plans to be a podcaster. So it's like, what has God got planned for me next? I have no idea. I'm at that point where I wouldn't even speculate to know what's next, because I didn't know I was going to be here. I didn't know that I was going to be, 30 some episodes into podcasting and exploring new things in new ways, and having a VTuber on who's sitting next to like, that's cool.
Do I need to address myself in third person in this dual appearance?
Well, K-Man was in here earlier, and when you start talking about, I just remember where K-Man was starting to talk about himself in the third person on Seinfeld when he went to the dentist and he started talking about himself in the third person, or, yeah. It's kind of odd to talk about yourself in the third person, As always,
Definitely.
Tell us your favorite thing that is happening in digital ministry.
For like as a question, or was that chat? Like I was confused on.
Yeah, I think he's asking as a question.
Okay, so favorite thing happening in digital ministry. That's interesting. That's good. So my favorite thing I've seen recently is you'll see content creators who were very in the world, I'll just say, and then you'll see they found God, and you'll see how quickly their content changes and how quickly and not only that though, like it's not even like their viewership doesn't tank. Like, I mean, yeah, they lose some people, but it's not like they go from like triple digit viewers to all of a sudden they're like a 3 viewer Andy. Like the people stay for them, like, and now they're hearing God, like they're getting the gospel message to them now, as opposed to just this like being in this worldly place. And like I can think of like a few off the top of my head, but like those are like always just feel like such powerful and such encouraging moments that like, God can prepare, like you don't have to be the perfect Christian for God to be preparing the way for you. You just need to be ready to say yes when it's that time for him to give you that invitation. And it's not like, oh, cool, I can just mess up till God calls me. That's not it at all. Like the Bible talks about sowing the good works in advance, part of waiting on the Lord. So if you're doing this walk and you're seeking after God in the meantime, then you get the even better experience where you're getting that, you're encountering God here. And then it's like, oh, hey, by the way, this whole thing 3 years in advance has already been prepared for you. Here we go, kind of thing.
Yeah, and there seems to have been quite a number of those this year, of prominent people suddenly coming to faith, some of them getting questioned if this is, if are they really or not. But that's usually questions from the Christian community questioning them, and not
that irony that
not from the world questioning them. It's the church saying, "Are you really?" But that should not surprise us, because that's exactly what happened to Paul, where the Christian church the Christians, well, I mean, he was persecuting, so it's maybe a little bit different. Hey, I don't know if you're trying to,
There's a difference between being a murdering merc versus
right.
To your point.
But even after he's validated and he proves to not be doing that, Barnabas takes him and he takes him back home, and he's there for like 3 years before he jumps into ministry. We forget that part. We read his conversion, and then we read Barnabas goes and grabs him and brings him to Antioch. That's the next story. Right after he takes him home, and he leaves him there, and then later he goes back and he gets him. Like, the church wasn't trusting of him yet. The church had low expectations that he was not going to turn back to what he was before. That this was a flash in the pan. It wasn't going to stick. And I think that's some of the response and reaction that we might see around people, is not trusting it, not believing that it's real, and not believing they're going to stick. And so are they going to do more harm? Or you get the people that judge everybody within the church. It's like, you're not doing it right. You're not doing it our way. There's that avenue too. But that is an interesting thing.
The amount of times I've told people, hey, oh yeah, by the way, in your journey, your greatest opposition is going to be other Christians, ironically. But, if you think about it, who is Jesus's greatest opposition? The religious people at the time. Yes. So should we be surprised at that point?
No, I don't. I don't think that we should. We also have warnings from Paul that after he's gone, wolves are going to come in and they're going to try to devour the flock, and that's certainly a thing. Or even Jesus saying he had to separate the sheep from the goats, and in the end, and the people will say, "But we did all these things in your name," and he'll say, "I never knew you." So there's those aspects of just because someone's in the church, just because someone's claiming to be a follower of Jesus, doesn't mean they are. But I want to trust the person that says they are and wait and see what they actually do before, I'm ready to say, no, I don't think you are.
But also, like, if they're a new Christian, they're not going to have perfect theology all of a sudden either.
Oh,
like, it's our
true.
opportunity to walk alongside them and help. Like, oh, well, actually, the Bible says this about that, instead of, oh, you're fake, you're wrong because you answered that wrong. Come try again next time. Like, no, like, okay, well, here's what the Bible says. What do you think about that? Like, an alpha approach is still a perfect approach for those moments and those people.
Yeah, I was absolutely thinking the same thing. The alpha approach to engaging the conversation, of exploring it, asking more details. What is it about that led you to this conclusion? Oh, how did you understand that? What do other people think? Have you looked at it, explored other ideas? There's so many ways to take that to help a person. This is one of the things that I often say. If I attack what you believe, what's your response? Defend what you believe. If I question what you believe, you are defending what you believe, but you're also questioning what you believe when you have to explain it. So it's either going to help you understand it better, or it's going to cause you to go and learn more so that your faith can be stronger if it's weak faith. Or if it's not faith in Jesus, it's going to cause you to question the faith that you have and maybe say, I'm willing to explore Jesus. So there's those kinds of things. Yeah, Tropic Turtle saying sanctification is not always instant. Yes.
And that next one, some Christians act like they never did the same things they were judging the baby Christians for. Oh, that's a truth someone needs to hear tonight. It's a truth we all need to hear tonight, realistically. But yeah, I mean, seriously, we get blinded of the log in our own eye. We get so focused in the plank in other eyes.
Yeah.
So often the stereotypical, pastors calling out this one sin that is their closeted sin in and of itself. Lo and behold.
Yeah. Very, very frequently that seems to be the case. Is what you rail against is either what you've overcome or what you're hiding. It seems to be one of those two things. I'll say that from other places, like an ex-smoker is the most intolerant person to smokers.
True.
They have zero tolerance. They have zero regard for them. They like, it's because they've overcome. It is the thing that grates on them, and I think for various different reasons. But I think it could be the same too. Is if you've overcome something, if you've come out of it, that very thing you struggled with is the hardest thing for you to give grace to other people in.
Sometimes when you've seen the beast for its just raw, pure, damaging desire of like purpose, and then it's like, it's the, I mean, in the healthier context, it's the like, the kid's running out in the street and you're yelling or you pull the kid away, like, sure, it's rough, it's abrasive, it's harsh sometimes, but like, if what you're seeing and the impending threat, the kid's not seeing it, so there's going to be that disconnect. And of course, I mean, obviously I'm not like saying every person that's incredibly harsh about it is in the right, but
no.
There's a very real, like, when they wrestled with that demon and God's delivered it from them, they know what that damage can be done if you let it fester, kind of thing.
Yeah. There are many reasons why we choose to get all up in arms about the things we get up in arms about. We either think we're right, we think we'd never do it, or we've overcome it, or we're hiding it. I think there's an infinite number of reasons why we go in that direction. And I think we're better off on some level trying to be more even-tempered in most things that we're facing. I think we impact and connect with people more. But there certainly are those people that need to hear the harsh message. I'm not denying that. I'm just not good usually with the harsh message giving to people. I want to be more on the side of grace. And maybe that's because if you've ever done the Myers-Briggs, as many times as I've done it, I've never scored even a point on judging. So maybe that says something more about me than anybody else. So
it's good. So earlier you'd asked about the word thing.
Yeah.
I've taken the leap of faith with it. We'll see. I don't have a person particularly in mind, but I felt like a little bit of like an imagery with it. And I do feel like there was a little bit of context, so I hope I'm not interpreting it. But I saw like kind of the context, like almost like, you know, the cartoon version of like a dog house, and then the dog has the leash, you know, the chain, and then the chain can only go so far, right? I feel like there's someone that like they have their chain that like it feels like it has full control over their life right now, kind of thing. And the chain only goes so far. It doesn't even go in the whole backyard, and then there's the whole world and stuff. And it's not to invalidate the reality of the weight of that chain, but that chain isn't your whole life. Like there is free. First off, like the name of Jesus will break every chain, amen, and that chain will be broken. God has a promise in that. But second, like if you can look past that chain and see so much more, so much in the world, the things that God's working that you don't see directly in your life. You might not even believe in God, this person. I don't know. Like, I don't know the details, but I feel like it was, hey, like this chain will be cut as a promise first. And second, there is so much more you'll be able to see beyond that chain, kind of thing.
Wow, very cool. I hope
we'll see.
I hope someone receives that, whether that's someone who's here right now and is able to let us know, or if that's someone who watches this later and God can use that and multiply that. I just love that whole idea of you can speak something now that is truth, but somebody hears it in the future when they need to hear that from God. That God uses that in a mighty way. And that happens in multiple different ways. So it can happen at a podcast. It can happen in a sermon that is, you know, in the old days was written and people would go and read those. It can happen in a devotional. It can happen in so many different ways that God, through the Holy Spirit, can use something said now in the future and multiply the work into someone's life in a way that we don't even have any idea he's doing.
So good.
So thanks for sharing it. I just put it out there. I thought, well, let me just ask. I don't know if it'll, you know, that's one of those things for myself without having that. It's like the get put on the spot and just say, well, you have to say something now. It's like, well, what if the Holy Spirit's not talking right now? What if,
once you asked it, the prompting was, I was like, oh, I guess we got to start seeking for something. Spirit was like, yeah, you better start seeking for something because I want to give something.
Oh, man. Appreciate that. So thinking back on your overall journey, what are some things that maybe you've had to, because we were talking about being patient and things, what are some things that you had to say no to in order to be able to stay in the things that God's calling you to do?
That's good. A lot of things I wanted to do. There was a lot of like individual routes I wanted to take it. I wanted to, you know, really stick with gaming and like, you know, try and do competitive gaming and stuff like that. And part of God growing that heart for people, not for the outcome of the game. You know, he even took it as far to like, hey, we're doing this thing called Check-in Tuesday where you're not going to stream a game. You're just going to sit there on your just chatting screen and you're going to wait for a chatter to show up. And I waited there for like 18 minutes that first time. I'm like, this is so awkward. What am I doing? Man. I'm like, just here's a good word. And then like 4 people showed up and they just, you know, poured out and like, you know, it was an opportunity just to meet them where they're at, meet and explore, unpack that thing with them and stuff. And then, you know, prayer requests popping up. And so I feel like a lot of it has just been like, I'm the dog with the tennis ball. I just want to run and find where the game is. I want to go run and find where the next thing is. And God's like, no, like, be still and know that I am God. And yeah, it's, I can tell you if I did a lot of those things I wanted to do, like it would have just ended horribly in heartache and burn and stuff. But the only thing on the counter side I want to say was I want to make sure that now with that like potential partial release he's giving to like make sure I'm not saying no to what he's specifically prompting now, instead thinking it's just my kooky imagination or my ambition or my pursuits wanting to go for it kind of thing.
Yeah.
I know it's really vague, sorry, but I was trying to cover like kind of a couple bases with that.
No. On some level, when you talk about approach to things, it can sound vague, but but when you apply it to a certain specific thing, it's really concrete. So No, that makes a whole lot of sense of trying to not say no to the things you're supposed to and the things you're supposed to wait, not rushing ahead. It is that both sides of things. One of the things is I think God leads all of us in a slightly different way, and we need to learn how to listen to the voice that he leads us in. So if he leads me differently than you, and the only way he's ever led me is I apply to multiple places, I get one interview, I show up at the one place, and I go. Like, I only ever get one interview, one job offer, and it always happens that way. Well, great. That's how God works in my life. It doesn't mean it works that way for you.
I'm sure there's lots of people who wish God worked in that way for them.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I was saying that as an example. That is not true. My example is even more bizarre than that. Where
God, please move that way.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I'll just give one weird example of getting an interview with a church, sitting down with them, getting a job offer in the interview, and then having the church ghost me. Like, what kind of answer to God? What are you doing here? Like, how do you yes, a church ghosted me after offering me the job. They decided that they changed their mind and they didn't have the courage to tell me. So yeah, it happens to anybody. And so I still like, okay, God, I'm glad that I didn't end up there, because that would have been a really probably problematic circumstance to live in if that's how they treated me after the interview process of, we're just going to not tell you, we're not going to confront things. Probably not a really healthy place to hang out with. So.
Oh, hey, I know it's been like 9 months, but you didn't get the job.
I kept replying and sending messages, and finally I annoyed them so much they finally replied back to me. So in
those moments it's tough though.
I was like, what? I thought you gave me the job. I need to start figuring out, what are we doing, when am I starting, all of that stuff. And it's like, you're not. We're changed our mind. Okay, could have told me that might have been the Christian thing to do.
Wait, a church being Christ-like? What? That happened?
They're all filled with sinful people, and we all make mistakes. So it was more comical to me than anything else. Within the circumstance of things, was okay. I didn't have that. Wasn't on my bingo card list of things.
Right.
That my experiences that I'm going to have with a church getting ghosted after getting a job offer was not on the bingo card list. I didn't know it was a thing. I didn't know it could happen. So
maybe it was a first.
I would love it if I was the only one that ever had that happen to him, but I got a feeling today it's probably more people than just me.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, as I'm looking at the time here, we've been going good conversation for several hours, and I'm a few hours ahead, so I'm past my bedtime, and I do want.
Oh yeah, it is post curfew for you, sir.
It's post for me, but I knew that going in, so we're all good. But I do want to wrap it up, so I just want to think, is there anything we haven't mentioned that you had thought about bringing up, that as we were planning to be here, you're like, oh, if I get an opportunity, I should share this? Anything like that?
Nothing off the top of my head. I feel like most of the bases got hit.
Okay. Then I'll just ask you this. How can we be praying for you?
Really good question. You can pray, that I guess pray that, God would continue to help me forgive myself with messing up his word sometimes in my life, and to give myself another chance with trusting him in what this next chapter entails, because that's kind of the biggest hook or thorn in the side, dare we say, in that moment is there's always a part of me second guessing, like, nope, that's not God, that's you making it up, that's your wild imagination, that's clearly not God. And I mean, there were times I did that with people and got burned by people because of it. So I think just fully surrendering that to God kind of thing, and forgiving myself for it.
Yeah. Cool, man. Can I pray for you?
Absolutely, please.
God, I just thank you for Stratus, for his heart seeking after you, for the calling you've given him, both in what he does with his in-person job and how you have knitted him to be a networker in digital space. And as he's moving into the new year with that vision, that idea that you've given him within his heart to, just do it without a net, not be limited by things, and now asking also for grace for himself. It's so hard. Sometimes we are the most critical person about ourselves. We don't give ourselves grace. We would give grace to everyone else who did the exact same thing, and we struggle to give grace to ourselves. So may you have your grace abound in him, to know that he is worthy of grace, your grace, and even his own, that you love him, that you are calling him, that he will have clarity over the decisions on applying places, where those places are, even if it's, I don't know if it would work, to be courageous enough to put it out there and then let you lead in all things. In his streaming, as he is stepping back and getting more active in that you will continue to grow him and give him discernment of the places that he's doing that his voice will be used and multiplied by you, and to not listen to all of the voices taking away from that, but to clearly hear your voice in your leading. And thank you for all of those ways in which he has been faithful, and he shared with us I'm going to do this on stream, and I don't know how it's going to go, and then sit there, and this is awkward, and yet you blessed it, and you used it, and you're using him. And it's been so evident as we've had this conversation. So I just thank you for him, and that you may just bless him, his community, all those places where he is serving in ministry and blessing others. May you multiply that. And pray this all in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you so much. And thank you for making the accommodation of a timing. Again, I know it's a late night start for your usual morning block, so yeah. I appreciate that a lot.
Oh, yeah, no problem. I usually try to schedule these when my wife is not home, so it's a little bit easier to do all of those things. So, but it was like, no, we can make this work, and I love doing that, because then I get introduced to your community, and then as we're going out, I usually invite the guests to recommend somebody that we can do a double raid out together to. So, do you have someone that we can go and raid?
Let me pull someone up then, shall I? Oops, don't unmute myself. Let's see here. My computer is chugging. Oh, let's send some love to Jeesh. XBC Jeesh, I think, should be our raid target.
Okay.
I'll put his link in the chat. Starting muted. It's great. My fellow HP stat leader, streaming some Star Wars, Old Republic. I figured it's a good opportunity. I usually am not live when he's live, or wrapping up when he goes live, or vice versa, kind of thing. So
yeah, absolutely. And
I think it's a good opportunity.
Well, and that's what I love too. Is one, let's bless somebody that you already know, and with a double raid. Like, double raids are just fun, aren't? I mean, it doesn't matter how big
absolutely.
they are. A double raid is like, what, 2? And to bring everybody over, and it doesn't matter how big or small, I think that's fun. And then it's also sometimes I get introduced to people that I don't know. So it's also, hidden motive to connect with people I don't know yet. I know Jeesh, so this will be fun. I don't think I've ever raided him. I know he started hanging out after Reach Conference in my stream in the morning every once in a while, which has been fun.
Nice.
Which has been
awesome.
Fun. All right, so if we count it down, we'll be pretty close to starting the raid at the same time. So if you want to hit it in 3, 2, 1, start the raid. We'll be raiding out about the same time. So if you've got an ending screen or anything else, thank you, everybody.
I do, but it's probably broken.
It's probably broken. Okay.
Last time I've tried it, the song is super digitized from my GPU being overthrottled.
Oh, no.
So we're not going to do that. Tropic can attest. She's heard it twice now. Break.
Okay.
So
well then don't do that. I will just thank everybody for being here. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out here, hanging out with the Church Digital, being here with Control Alt Redeem. We will be back next week. I would have to check what day it is. We've got Born Again Gamer that will be on next week, and I don't have any more scheduled after that, so I'm working on getting some scheduled for the new year. So thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly did, and we'll see you next time.
Hey, everyone. Take care, y'all. Thank you so much. We've